What's going down? What's happening? We ain't got no intro, we ain't got no nothing. This is Rios. We are live on Kick. We live on YouTube as well, but just sending people from YouTube over to Kick. Get your ass over to Kick, man. Get over there now. But today we're gonna be talking about cults, demons, possessions, exorcisms, all that stuff because we were talking about Eyes Wide Shut yesterday and the movie by Stanley Kubrick and all the crazy shit that was going on with that movie. And supposedly conspiracy is that 24 minutes of that movie was removed, like after he passed away or whatever. They saying that the shit was edited. If you look at the movie, a lot of stuff doesn't make sense, and it does seem like stuff was left out. But that sent us down a rabbit hole, and we were talking about a dude yesterday that was talking about all of the Diddy shit 15 years ago. Was talking about bringing up Diddy, talking about Cassie was Diddy's slave 15 years ago. So if this dude knew about it, multiple people had to know about it. This is not something that just happened or just some occurrence. It was well known. So, which sent me down another rabbit hole. Start looking up all this stuff, all this Epstein shit and all that stuff. And what's the importance of all this sexual activities, sexual deviance, and nastiness? Why is that shit so important to what they have going on? And so I just been looking, and that movie Hereditary set me off too. The movie Hereditary, because if you guys are here in the Ghetto Cafe, you guys know that I always say that the opposition, the enemy, is working harder. You got these fake religious people, these fake Christians that go to church and just dress up to get nice, to get girls to get guys, to just put on a show. It's not really for God. It's not really for what they say, Jesus or this and that. They're just there for the entertainment of what's going on. So the opposition, they're not playing satanic. They're not playing devil worship. They're not playing rituals. They doing that shit for a reason. They really out there working for what they believe in, what they think is real, man. Like, not what they think is real, but their faith, their belief. What's going on, man? Shout out to everybody, man. Get your coffee, get your tea. But yes, we are over on Kick. We live on Kick. Head over to Kick if you are here. But we're going to be going over signs of the mark of the beast and the rise of the Antichrist. And Peter Thiel, Palantir, all that stuff. But first, we're going to be talking and listening to a dude named Father Chad. I'm going to call him because I don't want to say his last name. Ripperger. Father Chad Ripperger, whatever. Chad Ripperger. Father Chad Ripperger and Sean Ryan. And the things that stood out to me and what I was looking at and what I was paying attention to. But we are live on Kick. Here we go.
You know, with all the, I'm sure you've seen some of the Epstein stuff. Have you been following that at all?
A bit, from a distance, yeah.
That seems like some type of satanic ritualistic type stuff that was going on there.
Yes, actually, and actually,
it's all occult activity.
As far as
it's all occult activity.
You know, to the degree that I can have certitude about what you can find on the
Diddy
internet.
cult activity.
That stuff that was going on there, and just the layout of the island gives an indication that it was heavily involved in the occult. The other thing I should mention too is that people don't get heavy into that type of thing. It's the same thing that we've seen elsewhere where. Guys who
shout out Los DLT Alberto. I see you in the building, man.
And they're very heavily active. It very often degenerates into ritualistic sex. It's the same kind of thing there that it eventually degenerates. Satan ends up just driving them because they're so disordered that he gets involved and then he drives it more towards a ritualistic kind of an approach. So if it wasn't ritualistic, I'd be surprised.
I mean, with it,
don't y'all be having questions like why? Why is this shit so important? Why do they need to have, why is sex so important? Everything that we think of, everything that's like bad, horrible, is always has to deal with sex. Why is sex so important? That's one of my questions that I don't have the answer for. Is it the fear? Is it the domination? Is it the at the root of shit? It's always like like this sexual behavior, these rituals, this perverse activity, where people are just debauchery. It's always the base of it. That's always it. Something about that shit. Is it the creation, life creation? Is that why they're so into it? I don't fucking know. But that shit is always like, what the hell is going on? Because if you think about them, all of them perverse.
There's just so many questions about what's going on, and it seems like nobody high up, nobody that could actually do something about this is going to.
Because they're all involved.
Covered up. In fact, our mutual friend who brought you here today, I mean, we've had a handful of discussions about distractions and all the distractions that are going to come to try to take our eye off of the satanic ritualistic abuse that Epstein did,
Right.
and all of his people that were involved with him.
Right.
And before any of this came out, our friend said, I think it'll be aliens. And then,
Yeah.
and then we see former President Barack Obama go on some random podcast and say, "Oh yeah, aliens are real." And I brought this up.
Right, Alberto. He was thrown in jail because of that shit.
Stuff. And I went up to our oak tree and did a little rant about it and said, you think this is a coincidence that they're
At this point, Durangi, we all should be conspiracy theorists. At this point, you ain't healthy if you're not a conspiracy theorist. We all should be questioning absolutely everything that's going on right now. Everything. Everything should be in question. Nothing should be just taken for what it's worth. Oh, that's what they said? Okay, I trust what they say. No, we don't trust nothing no more. Everything that they said was false, was fake, is all coming to light as real. Everything is becoming real now. Like now they're starting to say, oh yeah, that is real. Israel, that's funny. Oh yeah, no, there's no Area 51, there's no aliens. Oh no, yeah, they are. We've known for a long time. No, there's no such things as demons, ghosts. Oh yeah, that's real. That's dimensions. At this point, if you not have a healthy amount of skepticism and question everything they say, you tripping. Right now, we all should be.
all of a sudden the former president goes on a random podcast that nobody's ever heard of and says that aliens are real right in the middle of the biggest, most elite pedophile ring in the entire world while that's being unfolded.
Right.
They always have to reveal their motives. They have to always reveal. They have to tell you, just like vampires or demons, they have to be welcomed into your life. Doors have to be open. Windows have to be opened up for this to happen. These motherfuckers is practicing this magic shit, this witchcraft magic, magi, cabal, sorcery, Rasputin type shit is what they practicing. And they can't control what they open up, the doors. They've been telling stories about this shit forever. Pandora's box. They've been talking about Pandora's box forever. What was Pandora's box? Don't open that box, all the monsters gonna come out. All the demons and monsters, you can't put them back in. Ah, man, you opening Pandora's box. It's all for a reason. The whole world is a lie because it's controlled by the devil.
And then you fast forward about a week, and of course, then President Trump comes out and says something about, what President Obama did was illegal. He shouldn't be talking about aliens. I don't know the exact quote, but he came on and said that.
Right.
And then
let's talk about the JFK files. Let's talk about what he was trying to stop and what was the reason he was stopped.
I have former guests that have been on the show, some of them that I've been trying to get on the show that haven't come, that are in.
World peace is not real either. That's when world peace that's not even humanity. World peace, that's when New World Order happens. When everything is peaceful, that's when New World Order happens. There's going to be peace on earth for however long. And I'm not even going to get into all that.
The alien
Head over to
UFO,
Kick.
Anomalous activity, realm, and they're saying, you know, oh, look at this. Oh, look, maybe the Epstein stuff is a distraction from the alien UFO. And to me, that is no way, no way. Like, I am not taking my eye off of that ball. Don't try to distract me with this bullshit. And I mean, what do you?
It's
think
just the
about
tip of the
I
iceberg.
totally
Is what
agree
they.
with you, actually, for this,
People are
this
so.
particular
Let me stop
reason,
talking. People are so silly. It's the
There's
tip of the
something
iceberg. This is the tip of the iceberg. This is not even its full tilt. This is not even its full tilt. This is just the tip of the iceberg. They even start talking about the blood libel shit. That's been the reason. Let's get into Russia, 1917, with Rasputin, when he was murdered, because they say he was involved with these Zionist type people. But then they got okay to live and this and that. Then they were taken out. Then the white versus the red union in Russia leading into like, it's so much shit about this magic shit and the magicians and the magic and sorcery that they're just touching the tip of the iceberg. They're not even really there. They're not there yet. They're just reacting to the nastiness of this shit. That's really what they're doing. They're just reacting to the nastiness of what's going on.
So one of the tactics that the demons always use is, or very often use, is they rarely do a frontal assault on a particular individual. What they'll do is, and this is a diversionary tactic, which you know, being a military man, you would be able to appreciate this. You're over here, you just lob bombs over here, so the people's focus goes over here. And what that does is that gives you the ability to maintain your activity over here and maintain your influence. So the demons will very often. So, for example, one of the things that we commonly see is it's a demon of fear that actually drives
Shout out Sean Ryan.
things like sins against the sixth commandment, pornography, and things of that sort. So he'll drive the person to do that. But the real root problem is the demon of fear. So once you address the demon of fear, then this stuff just clears out. Well, this same type of tactic is actually going on. They want you to not pay attention to what's really going on or what's really in the background, because that's where their vulnerability is, at least in relationship to the diabolic. So it has that same kind of a complexion. So you've got this situation where the Epstein stuff starts to kind of come to the surface, and then all of a sudden there's this diversionary tactic that's used to get everybody, because now virtually nobody's talking about Epstein. So you just get that diversionary tactic over here, and you know, as you know, the American people have
messages pinned. We live on Kick. Go
go
there.
You know, which is like 11 seconds. So as soon as you've got them looking at this thing, now they're paying attention to this. And of course, the whole alien things, I think, is just a ruse anyway. It's just a way for people to get focused and interested on that. On the other hand, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if the world elite didn't want to use the alien things from the point of view of, if you listen to the people who have been alienly abducted, it's always like the aliens are always telling them, "Oh yeah, we're here to save humanity." Well, that's Jesus Christ's role, not aliens. We're here because human beings can't save themselves, and we're here to basically usher in a new era. Yeah, that's because people, the elites want to get away from or at least the demons want to get away from Christianity as the ruling ethos that affects you know, the world cultures, etc. So the very same things that the demons actually want is the same type of stuff that you hear the aliens actually talking about and you know, going into. So
what?
For me, it just looks like a diabolic diversionary tactic, not necessarily in the sense that
please, subscribe, go over to Kick, follow, please. We're trying to build that shit up.
Thinking that, you know, they're thinking in terms of diabolic necessarily.
Shout out to everybody on Kick, man. Shout out to people on YouTube.
Demons can't be using them precisely to that end, because the demons do not want people to become focused on the moral degeneracy, because then they'll start demanding change, and the demons don't want the change.
You can't hear shit on YouTube purposely. I don't got it hooked up to this. I'm on Kick. If you want to hear it, go to Kick.
Empowers them.
You mentioned demon of fear.
Yeah.
I'll hook you up. I'm gonna hook you up right now.
Technically speaking, it's actually Beelzebub, which, as you know from your
y'all know about that.
It's the Lucifer and Beelzebub and Satan are the same demon, and he's the demon of fear because of the fact that fear is defined as the perception of a future evil over which you cannot overcome. So there's some evil that's coming down the pike. You see it coming, and intellectually, and you can't get away from it. Well, in my dealings with him, he says he lives in Beelzebub says he lives in chronic fear. And the reason he lives in chronic fear, he said, is because, and it's also the same reason why he's exhausted. He spends all this time hyper focusing on everything that's possibly going on, because he said God broadsides me a lot of times. So a lot of times I'm focusing on this particular thing, and then the next thing I know, I just get broadsided because they do not have access to the divine economy of grace. They don't know what graces God's going to give to people, and as a result, the demons get taken to the woodshed. And so he's fearful of getting basically
punished
beat up in relationship to that. The other part about it is that they have a conscience, and their conscience bothers them, and they also have a sense of shame for what they actually do. They even mention
the demons have a conscience.
Yes,
and they feel shame.
And they feel shame. They know what they've done is wrong. They'll admit as much in session, and that is actually, other than the fact that they don't get to see God, that's their greatest suffering, is this pain of conscience of the evil that they've actually done. Beelzebub admitted to me in session that every time he gets someone to fall, he gets a sadistic delight out of it, but it increases his shame in knowing.
This is like one of the top exorcists in the world, like top exorcisms, does all kinds of exorcism.
So part of their fear, one of their massive fears, is being revealed or found out about their interior.
Duranji, you talking about something that is so obvious. Like, nigga, we have never, since we've been born, since humans have been on Earth, we ain't never experienced peace. Where can you point to peace? That's obvious. Like, you can't even point to peace.
Lives in relation to human beings. Just as we would, if people found out our deepest, darkest secret, we would feel shame or embarrassed. They have that same thing, but it's even worse for them because of the fact that they know that a final judgment's going to come, where not just in our private judgment when we die, but God's going to assemble everybody at the final judgment, and every evil thing they've ever done will be known by everybody. So they have a tremendous amount of fear. Shame is defined as fear of being perceived as lowly.
That's interesting that they feel shame. So would it be possible for a demon to come to Christ and to
No.
It's not. Once it's in, it's over.
No.
Yeah, because
it's not possible.
Make their choice.
Demons can't come to Christ.
Well, I should say this: none of their sorrow, or even their fear, but none of their sorrow is to a purpose of amendment. They have no intention of getting their act together. So
this is actually a dope interview. I haven't seen this.
Their choice because they were created when they were first created.
I agree by you, shot by Rose.
When they were created into a state of full comprehensive knowing. So they actually knew who they were, what their nature was, because they could actually see their nature. Whereas human beings, we have to infer what human nature is. They could actually see it. By that, they also knew what their assigned task was. God created them for a specific task, a mission, you could say, that they had to do. And that mission determines that means that one angel is actually essentially different from another one because they have a natural law, they have inclinations.
Hey, Boring Mindset, I'm watching Sean Ryan and Rabbi Chad Ripperger talking about demonic occult shit that's going on with this Epstein shit.
Particulars that would unfold over history necessarily, but they did know all the essence, so they know what a tree is, what a human being is. This is why they're so adept at taking people out, because they understand human nature so well. Okay, so
Duranji, no, I haven't thought of daily routine as a ritual.
We gotta wake up and drink some coffee and kind of get our act together before we can actually think anything of any depth, right? Well, not with them. They were instantaneously fully comprehended all of that. They knew what their task was. They knew what the reward would be if they were faithful to that, which would basically get to see him for all eternity and be an eternal happiness. Or they would also know what their eternal punishment would be if they did not do it. That means they had full, absolute comprehension. Now, the reason God cuts us slack as human beings is because we're stupid, right? We are. We're just stupid. And so that's why God's like, okay, you're stupid. And so when we're contrite, It's because our wills aren't fixed. Because when we make a choice, we don't have that full kind of comprehension they did. We just we later we realize, oh, that was just dumb, right? And so because of our lack of knowledge, we don't have that same level of knowledge where they had full comprehension. Now, St. Thomas says that their will is proportionate to their intellect, which basically means that when their intellect understands something, when they make a choice, it's proportionate to that thing, which meant that when they made their choice of being with God or not, of doing their task or not, they were all in. And that means their will became completely fixed in malice.
Wow.
In fact, it's funny because I actually had a case where this kind of thing came out, because I said, okay, so let me get this straight. So you were dealing with this demon. So you were created to have the beatific vision. Yeah.
Daraji, speak
And
for
you were
yourself,
created
man.
To have this phenomenal task of enlightening people's minds. Yeah. And you were created to have all these perfections that would surround that, and you'd be able to influence people for the good. Yeah. And you knew if you didn't do this, you'd end up.
What up, talk to me nice?
Yeah, and it would bother you for all eternity. That you would just hate yourself and because when they rejected their task, remember their task is who they are. That means, but they made their choice. It was perfect self-hatred. And you knew you'd hate yourself for all eternity. Yeah. And I said, and you do it again? And you said, yeah, I would.
Wow.
Why?
Is
that how dirty they are? Is that how horrible they are?
Perfection that they saw, that they wanted, that wasn't part of
Head over to Kick if you're on YouTube.
They wanted. And they had to be willing to sacrifice that in order to have the beatific vision, which is a greater good. So they had to sacrifice the lesser good for the greater good. And they were unwilling to sacrifice that particular thing. So they literally chose a figment of their imagination because they knew they'd never have it. They chose that over reality.
Fuck. That's the red and blue pill right there. That's the real red and blue pill.
Real quick, back to aliens and anomalous
They chose a
activity.
figment of their
we
imagination
talked about
versus
it several
reality.
Times and I believe it too, that all of that stuff is from a spiritual realm.
Yes.
And so what I want to ask is,
No,
when
Daraji.
we're talking about the elites, when we're talking about the people that are getting us to
Humans are
focus
given
on
choice.
distraction,
Right.
away from, in this particular example, away from the Epstein files and everything that went on there onto aliens and UFOs. So the people that are in on this, do they know what aliens
JB
are?
730.
Or do they have any knowledge that we don't have, or are they
Yes!
being controlled by a demonic force? And so
Yeah.
they're carrying out a agenda
Sean Ryan should know
and
better.
they don't even realize it.
He should
I
know.
think there's levels. So
Okay.
some of them are that lower level, which you just.
He should know. Sean Ryan is not confused
Other
with this
people
dude.
actually do know that, yeah, there's nothing out there. This is just, and the diabolic. The other thing is too, is some of the elite that are at the top are actually involved in occult activity. And those people know that we're actually dealing with spiritual issues here, or spiritual realities.
Let's see how this looks actually.
One of the things that happens, I've never had it because they know I don't buy it. Because demons, they know a lot because they've been watching us for our whole lives, right? So they know what our general patterns are and what we're likely to think and believe. Although they do sometimes throw stuff up just to see if it'll stick, but generally they know it. And so they know I don't buy any of the alien stuff. And so they've never done this to me. But I do know other exorcists where they would, in session, they would actually, once the demon manifested, they would manifest in literally looking like an alien with the eyes and the small mouth and the whole bit turning gray. And they even call themselves gray. And they try and lie to the exorcist by saying, oh, well, we're not angels, good angels, and we're not bad angels, we're not demons. We're kind of in the middle. We're neither good nor bad. No, dude, you're just a demon, right? Because when you start talking to them, it's all of that is a diversionary tactic, which they do in the sessions. So just as we're seeing this play out itself on a grander scale in the world with the whole alien thing, they'll try and do that in session where they're just trying to distract you by something that they know that is not true, but they're hoping you'll believe it's true because then from there they can manipulate you.
When you say there's different levels, do you
Yeah.
have to pass through each level, or do you just arrive at a level? So, like, if you are in the occult,
Yeah.
you just arrive at that level where you're doing satanic rituals, or do you graduate?
Some graduate. Some are
Some graduate.
actually they're trained in this stuff from the very beginning. Sometimes they're actually groomed.
This shit is
They'll
actually a
watch them in college.
dope interview. I ain't watched a lot of Sean Ryan, but this is actually a good fucking session right here.
A watchman, and they'll introduce them into this through various secret societies and things of that sort. They'll get them into engaging in the occult. There's a
What up,
few of
YouTube?
these
Head over to
people,
Kick.
not many of them, that are actually part of a pedigree or history that extends back to the
Shot by Rose, this shit
1600s,
is 4
1600s,
hours long.
where the occult practices has been in their family lineage literally for 300 to 400 years. And so they're so proficient in the knowledge about how this stuff works and what is actually involved. They know that there's demons and God, etc. And they know that their activity in the occult is getting demons actually involved. They fully know that. In fact, their knowledge of this stuff is almost on the same level as mine. And so they have a full understanding of it, that they're on the side of evil. And so they tend to raise their children generation after generation within that particular occult set of practices.
I mean, where do these people think they go when they die?
Well, they know they go to hell.
Why would you want to go to hell?
Well, because they have a false
Good question.
impression. Because the
Good question.
with this is that if they do a lot of evil in this life, which empowers the demons, then that will give them power when they get to hell. And so when they have that, and they actually believe the exercise of their power in hell will
What?
be something that they can then have a kind of comfortable hell, or it's not going to be as bad because I have all this power. And part of it is that they just have an aversion for things that are good anyway.
So that I've never thought about that. I have never thought that there was levels to the shit, levels to the evil. But they must have generals, lieutenants, and all kinds of shit down there. You know what I mean? So they like, shit, I want to have more power when I do go there. I don't want to go there, but I want more power when I do get there. Crazy. This Sean Ryan interview was crazy.
But they so I'm going to end up in hell, so I might as well get as far as I can. And that's one of the things we're seeing among some of the Satanists now, is that's why they engage in things like child sacrifice and things of that sort, because they're thinking that once they get to hell, they're going to have all this power. But what they don't realize is that something which Satan himself actually once said to me. I was noticing something in his behavior. Because I wrote 3 books in psychology, so one of the things I just started doing was watching patterns of behavior of these guys. And
this fool said what Satan said to me. This fool has done exorcism. I think he's saying he's actually talked to Satan in one of these people that he was exorcising.
both as individuals and as general, a lot of demons. And I said to him, your exercise of power in hell is actually painful, isn't it? It's not pleasant. He says, no, I hate it. He says, I use it to keep, to try and protect myself, but I hate it. And so they don't seem to realize that they might get a certain amount of delight in having all this power in this life, but even if they have
really
it,
what
the
they're
next,
doing. They're
they'll
just
be miserable. And they don't see it.
They're miserable in this life too.
They are miserable, but they think it's going to be like this life.
Man. Thank you. It's gonna be a heavy interview. So,
It's already heavy. It's going to be a heavy interview. It's already heavy as hell.
Father Chad Ripperger, Roman Catholic priest ordained in 1997, theologian, philosopher, and one of the most prominent exorcists in the world. Hold degrees in theology and philosophy from University of San Francisco, masters from University of St. Thomas and Holy Apostles, and a doctorate from did I say that correctly? Pontifical University of the Holy Cross in Rome. Founded the Society of the Most Sorrowful Mother, also known as the Dolorian Fathers, a religious society based in Archdiocese of Denver, dedicated entirely to exorcism, deliverance, and healing. The Thomistic scholar, an expert in demonology, angels, spiritual warfare, and the integration of theology with psychology. Author of books including Deliverance Prayers for Us by the Laity, Dominion, the Nature of Diabolic Warfare, and the Introduction to the Science of Mental Health. In your years as an exorcist, you've handled some of the worst cases of diabolic affliction, including full possession. These cases are often referred to you by bishops and other exorcists, literally the worst of the worst.
Generally, that's true.
Duranji, the bunch of stuff you saying is like general stuff, like you just saying what you think people believe and what you think people know. You don't think people fear hell? You think people think hell is not something to fear? Or you think some people don't fear hell when you already live in it or think you do? Yeah, what this is in no comparison to what hell is. No comparison. They just don't, either they're ignorant and haven't read and don't know or don't believe in hell. Some people don't believe in hell. But you think that this is hell on earth? Not what they say, what they promise you is going to be?
Well, Father, I'd love to, and I'd be honored to start off in prayer.
Sure.
If you could lead us.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Direct, O Lord, all our actions by thy holy inspirations and carry them on by thy gracious assistance.
The interview hasn't even started yet.
Ours may begin from thee and by the behalf of Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
The interview hasn't even started yet. That wasn't even the interview?
Look, you can eat clean, train hard,
Okay.
is a rosary. My friend Dom Razzo makes these. It's called the Warrior Rosary.
Yeah, I know.
Actually, I don't think he makes them.
Yeah, I know John. I just saw him about 6 weeks ago.
Did you
I
really?
gave some conferences with him there, yeah.
I love Dom.
Damn.
Magnanimity, how to make yourself great in virtue.
He loads me up with those.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
He is.
Solid character.
He is. So I wanted to give you one.
No, thank you very much.
And then, lastly, I heard you mention you carry.
I do carry.
This fool gifting guns? What?
Thought you might want one of those.
What was
I
that, a
got friend
6 hour?
over at SIG. His name's Jason.
I knew it was a
This is
SIG.
the
I knew it was a SIG.
GTO.
Very good.
His name.
So,
I knew it was a
You might
SIG.
want one of those. I got a friend over at SIG. His name's Jason. This is the SIG GTO.
very
SIG
good.
GTO,
Open it
damn.
up.
Let's take a look.
Oh, this is cracking.
Yeah, I do actually.
That's cracking. This was a father
Oh, very
priest.
nice.
Look at it
That's
with a gun.
awesome.
You ever see a priest with a gun?
All metal.
All metal.
Love that.
That
It's
shit
got a
is
compensator
clean.
up front. It's got their new
Damn.
optic on top. I think it holds 21 rounds.
21 rounds?
Wow.
Thing is like butter. You're
The
gonna
SIG
love it.
GTO. I gotta look that up.
Well, good news is at our community we actually have a range target
Do
range.
you really?
Yeah, we do. It needs some development, but we actually have
Real
a
Demon Slayer,
Yeah,
real
yeah,
shit
so,
on
yeah.
everything.
Yeah, we
That's
test
a
it
real
out.
Demon
We
Slayer.
test it out tomorrow.
Right. Right on. Maybe we can break it
Damn.
down
Have you ever seen a priest in Rome with a heat? No, we're not talking John Wick. This is real life.
That's awesome.
You're welcome.
He got a
And then
SIG in real
one
life.
last thing before we get into the interview here.
From, I think,
I
an
think
ex-Navy
John
SEAL.
Kennedy,
Sean Ryan's an
it's a
ex-Navy SEAL.
subscription account, and we've turned it into quite the community, and they're
He
the
could
reason
pop somebody,
honestly,
be
that
like-
I get to sit down with you here today.
Right, yeah.
And so they get the opportunity to ask every single guest a question. This is from Justin Larson. From your work in deliverance
I like
and
this show.
exorcism, what are the main areas or institutions, family, education, media, politics, etc., where evil seems to be gaining the most ground in America today without people realizing its demonic influence at work?
Gaining ground or just being realized? Is it gaining ground or is it just being realized?
That's a good question. I mean, obviously, we're seeing just on the grand scale, like in politics and stuff like that, we're seeing the diabolic stuff pretty clearly. But the place that they're making the biggest headway is, and I should say, if we're talking about a shift that we started noticing about 2 to 3 years ago, where the demons used to not attack, and now they're doing a full-blown attack, is on good families.
Oh,
That was
shit.
it. Historically, led good lives. We're doing, raising
Pay
kids
attention.
properly. Very often very religious, doing the things that they're.
Now demons are actually attacking good families, very religious. They're not even being stopped from attacking the people that say that they're religious and this and that. Like they used to go after people that didn't believe or whatever. What?
Supposed to do. Now they're attacking them, which gives us an indicator that they're emboldened. It's either a sign of one of two things. They're emboldened because as the world gets more evil, they get more power, and so they can actually attack fortresses that they used to not be able to attack, or that they would never attack in the past. And so we're seeing.
The world gets more evil the more power they get. The more power they have, the more evil the world gets, the more power they have. What does that sound like? That sounds like belief. If you stop believing in them, they die. If you believe in them, they gain power. I forget what that was. I forgot what movie. What am I trying to reference? Very familiar. Damn.
Seeing that it's specifically an attack on the family. So we're seeing a dissolution where all sorts of different kinds of problems are actually happening within family lives. Usually it goes in the form of one of the children who they've raised their kids properly. All of a sudden their kids just out of the blue just go off the rails and they can't seem to get too much done with it. Or it's an indicator that they know their time is short, which I think is also true.
The demons?
Yeah, they know their time is short. They know that God will only tolerate this level of evil that we're seeing in the world for only a certain amount of time. We saw it with the flood. We saw it with the wiping out Sodom and Gomorrah. He'll only tolerate stuff for so long, and then he says that's enough, and then he basically does a corrective for human beings to correct them and get them on where they need to be. And that means that the demons, they know that same pattern. They've seen it because they've watched it throughout history. And so they know that once it gets to this level, where, I always tell people,
Find God, y'all. Find God. Find your God. Find the Lord.
Marry each other, which makes us worse, frankly, as far as that goes. And the fact that, generally good people just tolerate that stuff and think it's actually okay because the majority of the public think it's okay for two men to get married, which I think is just an indicator.
Oh, shit. Hold on. He said we worse than Sodom and Gomorrah.
But at least they weren't trying this level, where, I always tell people, we tend to look down on the people in Sodom and Gomorrah, but I tell them, but at least they weren't trying to marry each other, which makes us worse, frankly. As far as that
makes
goes.
us worse.
That, generally good people just tolerate that stuff and think it's actually okay because the majority of the public thinks it's okay for two men to get married, which I think is just an indicator of our insanity. But that all being said,
shit, this thing is dropping.
I think they know that the gig is up. God's gonna intervene at some point, just to do the correction.
So he's saying that the demons are getting desperate. Basically, do you guys agree with that? He's saying that demons are getting desperate. Basically that demons are getting desperate, that they're out of desperation. They know that God is only going to allow this behavior for so long. And through history, through time, through the word, it is said that this is what he will do. When God feels that it needs to be a reset, he will reset shit. And he's saying that we worse than Sodom and Gomorrah. He said, shit, at least back then they wasn't trying to marry each other. He said only so much evil can exist before all power is like, try to give y'all opportunity. I try to see if y'all could correct your right, if you could do your own reset.
They know their time is short, but then also the amount of power that they actually have. There was a prophecy that St. Francis of Assisi gave back in the 1200s, and he talked about a time which would come in which the demons would have unusual power. And as exorcists, we've noticed that their resilience and ability to take a beating and to hold on to things is on a level that we have, historically just never saw. And so we know that there's a lot of evil out there that is empowering them to stay where they're at. So, but the primary angle of attack right now is on the family.
Man, the families.
Yeah.
What would the correction be? Is it going to be a correction, or are we approaching end times?
Well, ultimately, we don't really have any certitude. I mean, it could be the type of thing that it's the situation for the Antichrist is just about present. The Antichrist has to be able to rule the world. He's not going to rule through governance. He's going to rule it through economies. And so, even though he'll have control of the governments too, but the Antichrist would actually, when he appears, there has to be a unification of the worldwide economy in order for him, to a degree that's a little bit farther down the road than ours is at this point. So I don't think that he's just immediately around the corner, but I could be wrong. And that the other way that it can actually happen is there's been numerous prophecies by saints, apparitions where Our Lady's appeared, like at Fatima, where 3 children saw her, but then there was a miracle of the sun where 70,000 people saw this miracle that actually happened there. Where, so there's some of those apparitions, she actually talks about the fact that one of them is La Salette, where she said there's going to be a chastisement that's going to come. and that chastisement will be a minor chastisement, but it's going to be the type of thing where, excuse me, we're going to see infrastructure. God's going to basically allow some type of war, something that's going to happen to such a degree that, it's going to be brutal even for us who are good and who are prepped and ready for it and all of that. It's going to be brutal for everybody.
When you say, I can't remember how you said it, but you said it sounded like you were saying the stage is kind of set.
Yeah.
Almost everything that's happened needs to happen. What has happened that needed to happen, and what still needs to happen?
This dude's asking some bomb-ass questions. Damn, I need to take notes. This is a good interview. Sean Ryan's doing a good job.
Because one of the things that we know from the fathers of the church is
He's
that
literally
there's
killing
a
it.
worldwide implosion of people's morality. So, which we've seen, right? So that's happened since the 1950s. There's been an implosion where people just aren't following the laws of God and or the natural law in any sense of the term. So we have that. The other part of it is, again, is the unification of the worldwide economies, because he has to be able to basically control.
This is the end times.
People.
They're talking about the end times.
The other
The
thing
Antichrist
is,
right
it
now.
has to be something that the people that are alive, that in order to survive, you have to be able to plug into that economy in some fashion. That's why they talk about the mark of the beast. Well, we're almost there, where they could literally just decide, look, unless you're going to sign off on certain things, you're not going to have access to the digital currency that we're going to enact worldwide, and therefore, because that's how we can rule it. At least that's my opinion. I think that's one of the ways how he's going to control people is through digital currencies, and he's going to just shut people off, and that's how they'll be able to basically starve people out if they're unwilling to sign off on the Antichrist's rule. So it's going to be those kinds of things have, as I mentioned, have come into play.
We're talking like social credit score.
Yeah, that's right, among other things. The other thing is, too, is we also know that the Catholic Church specifically...
Don't let that go over your head what he just said. Social credit score. A social credit score.
will have to be at a stage where it would have to have gone through a prior weakening crisis. And then it will resurge, and then right before the Antichrist comes, the morals of people will implode, they say, in such a rapid fashion to where this last 50 years will make our heads spin and be that much more rapid. So there's some prophecies that have been fulfilled and some of them that haven't quite been.
When you say good people, I mean, is that everybody? Everybody will be under the influence?
Well, they say that the Antichrist will be so charismatic, and it will be that unless a person has specific graces from God, you're going to easily get sucked into into what he teaches and what he professes, which of course is going to be a rejection of Christ, and he will set himself up as the Messiah, but it'll be a political type of a thing.
Who believes in the Messiah?
Something that has to happen.
Who believes in the Messiah?
Once he shows up, of course.
Who believes in the second coming? Who believes in the Messiah?
The prophets that are in heaven, Elijah and Enoch have to return. They're put to death. And so because they actually
This
return
is deep.
and preach against him. So those types of things have to happen before Christ actually returns and finally puts him to death.
Do we know what names they'll use?
We don't.
Or identity. We don't know what names, identities. We don't know any of that.
What about the temple?
According
Yes,
to the fathers
this
of the church, at least the ones that I've read, they said the temple will never be rebuilt. And
It will never be.
It will never.
That's news to me. He said the temple will never be rebuilt. I've been running on the fact that they're trying to build the temple right now.
It'll be clear who they are.
What about the temple?
According to the fathers of the church, at least the ones that I've read, they said the temple will never be rebuilt. And
It will never be.
It will never be rebuilt. And the reason being is because, first of all, Julian the Apostate tried to rebuild it, and it was destroyed in the process. Christ actually put an end to the Jewish sacrifice on purpose, because the Jewish sacrifice in the Old Testament was a lead up or prefigurement of Christ.
A lot of people talk crap about Jesus and this and that. Oh, you got this white God or this and that, or this is what they pushed on us. There's only one person in one religion. There's only one in existence that was shitting on what they was talking about. Like, nah, what they doing, there's only one religious figure that was like, nah, that shit is horrible. That shit is wrong. I would rather align with the one who's saying that blood libel shit, that sacrifice shit, that sacrificing children, and that shit's wrong. There was one person who said that. There's multiple religions that point to that one person and say, well, if you want to live a good life, just be like Jesus. Other religions affirm that, like, you know what? If you want to be a good, just be like Jesus, man. Multiple. There was one person who was like, nah, them niggas over there, they are tripping. That's not it. That's from here on out, that shit's out the door. I want to align with the nigga who's saying that shit was out the door. Did not mean to say, Lord, forgive me.
And so he gave them one generation in order for them to convert to Christianity. And when they didn't, he put an end to their sacrifice. So technically speaking, there hasn't been practicing Jews in 2,000 years because the temple hasn't been around. They haven't been able to offer sacrifice.
Ohio Ties, tell me one religious figure that talks against everything that you can't stand.
Doesn't mean that they don't pray and things of that sort, but they haven't been able to enact their primary religious duties, which is to offer sacrifice. Plus their Levitic line, which is their priestly line, was destroyed. So, but then, and the difficulty is people tend to misinterpret the book of Daniel, which says the abomination of desolation takes its seat in the temple. What they don't realize is that is not a reference to the Jewish temple. That's where the Protestants are getting it wrong. So a lot of the Protestants are thinking, oh, well, let's help the Jews rebuild the temple, and then that will usher in, because Christ is going to return, after the temple. They think the temple is going to be rebuilt. And then as a result of that, the temple has to be rebuilt in order for the Antichrist to put himself in there. So let's do that so that the Antichrist will come, and then that means that Christ will come, and that's kind of their reasoning behind it.
Not just Islam.
First of all,
you got Baha'i, you got Hinduism, Buddhism, the New Age spiritualities. Buddhism, Hinduism, Baha'i, they all recognize that as a good example of a good person. Be like that.
The abomination of desolation taking its seat in the temple is actually a reference to the Catholic Church. That's what the Father said it's a reference to. That there's going to be some way in which the situation in the church will become compromised to such a degree. Doesn't mean necessarily people have to know it, but it's essential elements.
Look it up.
But the Catholic Church itself would become compromised in that process.
Jeez. When we're talking about the social credits, the ruling through the economy.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned the mark of the beast. It's just in the past 6 years. I've heard lots of different things that could be the mark of the beast. The first one being the COVID shot.
Yeah.
The next one I've always heard is digital currency. Another one could be Neuralink.
Yeah.
That's all Elon too. Neuralink is Elon. Crazy ass.
This is, what are people supposed to do? Let's say that they do usher in the new digital currency, and I'm sure it won't appear to be the mark of the beast. But maybe it becomes more obvious, as time goes on with people holding out. I think about this all the time.
Right.
I have kids, they're small.
I think I watched
a wife. I have people that depend on me. What are we supposed to do if we can't eat, take care of ourselves, provide for our families? What are we supposed to do?
Well, I think there's.
If that's the only way you can survive, what are we supposed to do? Is the head of the family?
Yeah, the way the fathers of the church talk about, though, is they say that the mark of the beast, you can't receive.
I'm talking about the followers of those religions right now. I'm not talking about a book that says, oh yeah, Jesus is coming. I'm talking about right now. You look to any religions, they recognize that dude as a good guy. And he's the only dude who talked against the people that y'all be saying y'all can't stand.
In the person's soul, which is a mark. And that's actually why, for example, in the baptism in the Catholic Church, there's a sign in which you actually take chrism and you sign it on the forehead as an indicator of that this person has been consecrated to Christ through his baptism. The mark of the beast is going to be the inversion of that. So it's going to be
I'm going to watch it
in our bodies.
I think I watched it. No, I did House of David.
Will give us access to these particular things. Okay.
like Neuralink.
Like it would be something similar to that, or it could just be something like an RFID chip, which then you just be able to walk in and it can scan it. They know who you are and they know that you can have access to.
I think we all know about the mark of the beast and what could happen.
They get information.
Just go back to diabolic infestation. I mean, we talked about demonic influence on animals and humans.
Oh,
What
animals?
about houses and buildings?
Yeah, houses. So I do a fair amount of exercising of buildings. A lot of
Animals?
buildings more recently,
Exercising
especially
animals?
Buildings where charitable activities are being done. People are just getting hammered. So like places that are working against abortion, or
Damn.
like there's one that I've been working with from time to time.
That kind of just threw me.
Actually trying to do a Catholic version of hospice where they're just not offing people, that overdosing and killing them to get rid of them. They're actually letting them go through a normal process of death. They're getting attacked. So, but houses too, usually there's, evil that's occurred in the location or in the house itself, which has resulted in the things getting into the house. And that's when you start seeing,
How demons enter. I'm just looking at the different chapters. Every single chapter of this interview we can watch. I'm trying to skip to the chapter that I wanted to originally look at this interview, but every single chapter we can watch that shit. It's actually crazy. So I'm trying to I want to skip to this one chapter, but every single fucking chapter is goddamn good.
Stuff moving around and things like that in the house.
So the opening for
Amityville.
a
Yep.
human, a
House
building, a
possessed.
house, an animal, maybe not an animal, is sin, correct?
That's correct. So it's either the particular person's sin. So a lot of people, about 50% of the people that come to us that are possessed is because of the sin that they committed, or the other 50% is because sin has been committed against them. In locations, it's because somebody has done something particularly evil in a location, and as a result, the demons have gotten their foot in the door there.
Damn.
And so you have to go in. Sometimes finding out the history of the house can be very helpful, but you'll have to exorcise the place in order to get the demons out.
What are the most common sins they enter through?
Primarily occult activity, which we're starting to see a rise in. People engaging in witchcraft. And
Demons enter mostly through.
Location.
Oh, see, that was my question. I was trying to figure out what's so important about sex. Said demons are making their entrance mostly through occult practices. That's how they enter, mostly through occult practices. And then he talks about sex. That's what I was wondering. Like, why is sex so goddamn important to these people?
Primarily occult activity, which we're starting to see a rise in. People engaging in witchcraft and Satanism, things of that in a particular
Oh, I thought he said
location.
sex. He said Satanism,
Sometimes it
witchcraft.
can be something just as simple as one location that I had to address or deal with was it was a former lockdown for teenagers who had literally lost their minds. And so they would draw them up and put them in this place. And
Damn.
what got in there was, because of the things that were being done in that particular location, was a demon of flight. So you'd walk in there and you'd get attacked like, I gotta get out of here, was what people would explain, just gotta get out of here. And, but the local bishop cleaned that place up pretty quick and without too much fuss. There was
Jesus
another
Christ.
where it was a demon of anger had gotten in there, but it was connected to heavy pornography use in that particular location. But it was a demon of anger that got in. And so that took a little bit. And actually, that case was the first time I ran across what we call temporary possession.
Said pornography?
The infestation.
Heavy case of pornography was where the demon entered.
At such a level that he could actually attack people and actually quasi-manifest through individuals. And so you could literally stand, if everybody in the building was sitting in the same room, you could just look around the room and actually see there he is. And then, 10 minutes later, you see it's attacking this person over here. And it was just anger. You could just see the anger, the complexion would change and everything. So you can see going from location to location, from person to person. And that's
like that movie Denzel was in. The movie Denzel had, what's it called? Fallen? I can't remember the movie where the demon was jumping for people that you could touch somebody and that's how it was transferring.
actually one of the ways that we detected him when we were actually able to, I don't know if I never was actually put on that case. I just noticed the detection and knew about it. I think the quasi-diagnostic of it, but
Seeing a dog face
it
is the
was,
funniest thing
I
in
don't
the
know if it
world,
was ever
man.
gotten out of there. I don't know if they ever addressed it. So they get into buildings and stuff. I was actually in a hotel once where that didn't notice it when I first walked in, but then when I went to get to bed, the level of attack in that particular case was on the same level that it was in that building where the demon of
Damn.
anger and flights were. It was on that same level where the attack was so strong. And so I did do some prayers and some stuff to kind of keep my own particular room protected. I was able to sleep through the night. But because I don't know who the owners are, I could have done an exorcism over the whole place. But the problem with that is that the more stout the demon is, usually you have to go from room to room and exorcise every single nook and cranny in the place to make sure you get him out. So, which I've also had to do even in rectories,
Damn.
where bad things have happened in the rectories, and so you have to go in and clean it out.
Are there any specific sins you see them go through more than others?
The demons.
Demons.
Well, the sins they like to gravitate towards the most because they're easiest to get human beings to fall into are sins against the sixth commandment, like fornication, masturbation, pornography, those types of things. Those are the ones that they tend to like to use because they're so easy to get us to fall into. And then from there, they'll graduate people to other sins and just to follow in pornography, those types of things. Those are all into.
Because those are like so easy to
like
do.
Fornication, that towards the most. Well, the sins they like to gravitate towards the most because they're easiest to get human beings to fall into are sins against the sixth commandment, like fornication, masturbation, pornography, those types of things. Those are the ones that they tend to like to use because they're so easy to get us to fall into. And then from there, they'll graduate people to other sins and get them into stuff that's
Damn.
even more disorder.
What about
Watch out for that corn, that
I
masturbation,
see
that
people that lie? I've lied.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody's lied at some point.
Yeah.
But
watch out.
I always wind up coming clean, and I always feel better when
Right.
I do it right here on my show. I'll tell people all kinds of ridiculous, horrible shit that I've done. But to me, it feels like a confession.
Yeah.
In some ways, it's
Shot by
a
Rose.
confession because nobody can hold that against me because I've already confessed. That's the way I feel, at least.
Yeah.
I've confessed publicly.
Yeah.
I did this. I'm fucked up, and now I feel better.
Right.
I see people who maybe I'm not necessarily friends with, but I know I'm associated with, who are living a lie.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these people have enormous audiences, just huge audiences. Lots of people know them, and they just continue to live the lie.
Right.
And you can feel the misery. You
Damn.
can see it, you can feel it, you know that their entire life is miserable.
Yeah. That's right.
Ooh, who do y'all know like that?
That type of thing. There's a line in scripture, I said in my excess, all men lie. Okay. Well, not all men lie, but we're seeing it in our world
That's cold.
now, which I'm sure you're experiencing this too, or just the observation. You can't watch.
I never watched the movie Smile.
Without knowing I'm being lied to.
All right, Dogface.
In fact,
Chosen with my kids?
I've
Okay.
told people that the mainstream
Head over to
media
Kick, y'all.
so habitually, you can't even trust literally anything they say, good, bad, or ugly. And so, so when they report on something, okay, maybe something's happening there, but it may not be the way they're reporting it, etc. But it's in all the
Cali Bags, welcome to the show.
Possession where it's authentically Satan is pretty rare. Now, there's demons that call themselves Satan, and they'll refer to themselves as that, but they're not actually Satan. I've only had one case where I actually thought, no, this guy is this guy's Satan, because I beat this guy ruthlessly during a session for 3 days, and he didn't tell the truth once. Even when it would go better for him, and we see this even in human beings, they'll lie even when the truth sounds better, right? So you just tell the truth. But this guy, no, he was so wed to actually lying, and of course Christ said he was a liar and a murderer from the beginning. He was a liar from the beginning because of the fact that he basically lied to all the other angels that if you follow me, I will give you X, Y, and Z. He didn't never give them X, Y, and Z. He didn't give them anything. And so that was the lying part. And then, of course, the murder part was he wanted to murder our Lord and our Lady. because he wanted to subvert God's plan of our redemption. So
How does this dude even walk around with all this, knowing all this stuff? He knows all this stuff, experienced all this shit, and he believes it to be true. How does he just walk around knowing all this shit? He's in a completely different world. Is that a different dimension? He knows so much stuff. Is he in a different dimension? Like shit. Like dude, like can't be living no regular shit. Like you can't be just going regular places, can he?
but you're seeing, as the world becomes more diabolic, you see people becoming more mendacious. They just lie all of it.
People just lying all the time.
On a consistent basis. I think we see that type of thing too with, we see it like with stolen valor and things like that, with guys claiming they've had this, that, or that experience when they haven't.
Stolen valor, hood stolen valor. There's some hood, street stolen valor going on. It's hood niggas lying. It ain't you. So much shit going on right now, man. So much shit happening right now.
How do you get rid of them though? If you're lying, if you're living a lie, and a demon enters through that, or you're addicted to pornography or masturbation or whatever,
Right.
and that's how the demon enters.
Yeah.
If you stop that, if you come clean on the lie and you confess, if you stop masturbation, if you stop pornography,
How do you get rid of it?
Addiction,
Right.
does that clean yourself out?
So there's different levels. So how much influence a demon has is by degree. So that's why there's different kinds of possession. You can have possession where it's very deep and it's going to be a long grind. And then you have stuff that the demon does possess them, but it's pretty light and can come out pretty quick. Well, it's the same thing in relationship to this. So you can, sometimes if people just stop the activity, then what you'll find is that then the demon just doesn't have anything to use or use against you. And this is something that we actually find very consistently, like in families. So for example, if we tell the guy, quit being effeminate and man up and actually be the head of your household, and tell the wife, submit in a rightly ordered and a loving fashion in relationship to what Christ intended for you. Do that. Just establish that right order. So
Oh,
stop the
shit.
sinning of usurpation on her part, and you stop the sinning of capitulating your authority. You guys just stop that.
Damn.
So what we find is that 80% of the time that just clears the demons out because they have nothing to use with. It's the same thing in our own personal lives. So in relationship to things like lying, if you just stop, that's going to help. The other thing that can be very helpful is just making a renunciation.
7:30 said, "Be a man."
That's the demon of X. And when people do that, and in fact, if a demon still has an influence in that area, then we often find that they'll either be blocked in being able to make the renunciation, or they'll find making the renunciation very difficult. But once they make the renunciation, it will break the back of his power in relationship to them, and so
Alberto.
back him just by growing in the virtue of truthfulness, and then eventually get him out.
Do people come to this realization themselves, or are they guided to renunciation?
The renunciation usually have to be guided.
Damn.
Rarely do you find people. Once in a great while, you get people say, I'm sick of this. I don't want this in my life anymore, or something to that effect. And so then then it will kind of stop. There's a couple of other areas.
Renunciate, you guys.
So far into a person's life because of their sinfulness that they would have to come to an exorcist to get it cleaned up. It just depends on the level. Sometimes too, if people just develop a certain kind of discipline in that particular area, that will break the demons back. In the Catholic sphere, what we have is when people go to confession, if they confess the particular sin that the demon has a hold on them, when the priest gives absolution, the legal binding force of the sin over the individual is absolved. That's why Christ said, whoever sins you retain, they shall be retained. Whoever sins you forgive, they shall be forgiven. So when they go to confession, what it does is that it breaks the legal bond that the demon has in relationship to the person by the absolution of the priest. And so we've actually had people liberated from possession just by going to confession and giving them absolution. We've also had cases where it protracts and we can't seem to get the demon out, and then eventually you'll get out of the demon, what is keeping you here? And they'll say, it's this one unconfessed sin over there. And so the person's like, I totally forgot about that. They go to confession, and once the priest gives absolution, boom, then they're freed. So it just depends on on the level or the degree of the diabolic influence.
Okay. I used to carry one of those bulky leather wallets that felt like I was sitting on a brick all day. Cards falling out, receipts stuffed everywhere. It was a mess. Switching to Ridge completely changed that.
All right, I'm gonna
The
jump to where I
designs-
wanted to jump to, you guys. I'm gonna jump to where I wanted to go. Just bear with me. I wanted to. This is the reason that I did this. This is where I wanted to go. So let me see.
Were you talking about cursive?
This shit is. Hierarchies.
Does this play into this as well, curses? Can you ask who the curse came from?
Yes. Well, they'll often reveal it. So if the person's possessed, you'll actually, if they're not possessed, the demons can't talk necessarily. Whereas if the person's possessed, you can beat him to the surface and force him to talk, and he'll talk. And then at that point, they'll, in order if the person was cursed, you have to break the curse, and that's going to be how you're going to liberate them. And so as a result, the demon's going to have to tell you at some point who cursed them and how it was done. And then there's usually specific things that you can do to invert those or break the curses.
How many demons are there?
Billions. Literally.
Billions.
So when God created,
Hold the press. Billions. What you mean billions, Father Chad? Billions? This is how important it is to protect your family, your children. He said billions. You could be fighting every day. Don't even know you're fighting off some shit. Every day you could be fighting off some shit. That nigga said billions. What up, Ivani Bunny? I see you.
all the angels, he created the entire hierarchy of angels instantaneously all at once. And so, starting from the seraphim, which is at the top, all the way down to just angels at the bottom. Of the class of the angels alone, there's one subset, which is the guardian angels. And every human being that has reached, that has basically been born or basically been conceived has had a guardian angel created specifically for that particular individual. So
Really?
we're talking billions just in that one subclass. The number of angels that fell, we read, is from the book of Revelation, where Satan took a third of the stars and with his tail and swept them down. So that's, the fathers say that means that a third of the angels actually fell. Now, not a third get to possess or have much to do with us in this life. Most of the possessions that we see are from the top rank, which is the top three choirs.
This is hierarchy
thrones, the
amongst
cherubim.
a hierarchy amongst the demons, what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do.
And the seraphim. So, be Satan, who's for Beelzebub, but there would also be Baal, Asmodeus, Leviathan, Lilith, Baphomet, and then also Moloch. Those ones in the middle. There's also other ones like Abaddon, who are kind of in the middle. They're
I low-key
you
don't wanna hear the
see them in
names.
Middle tier very often. And then you'll see a lot of the lower grunt guys at the bottom, whose job it is to just kind of do the bidding of the guys at the top. And so those are where you see most of the possessed and demons coming from.
And so when they name themselves, is this all recorded? When you're talking about billions of demons and you get one to name itself during an exorcism, you go do some research. I mean, how many times has it been where it wasn't recorded?
Most of it, actually.
Most of it.
Yeah, because historically, to be an exorcist was done by mentorship.
Damn.
So what would happen is if you were chosen to be an exorcist, you would go and study under some guy for like a year to 2 years, and then he would teach you all these things, that we're talking about. And so you would learn those things, and you'd learn the names of demons, and you'd see them in session and get a sense for them before you started out on your own. But because of the number of exorcists collapsed in the church, and then now they're just trying to get it back up off the ground. We teach classes, actually. My community and I, we actually teach classes, and then there's also a place in Mundelein that teaches courses on this particular topic.
What was that
And
movie?
so, but then we encourage people to come and sit on
Constantine
session, because
with-
it's one
with
thing for me to
Keanu
see,
Reeves.
people to change shape during session, and it's another thing to actually see it and see what you're actually looking at. So, because anytime demons create or naturally manifest, there's a real revelation, something about the demon. It's called the cause is always some way in the effect. It's a.
So if you guys are on Kick, please follow, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, please like, go to Kick. If you're on YouTube, follow, like, subscribe, leave a comment. Head over to Kick.
The only thing I'm really interested in is what am I seeing? What can I learn from what is going on in this guy? Because I got that information is going to tell me something about him. It's going to be helpful for me to get him out.
Before we move into shape shifting and that kind of stuff, I'm just curious. So would that be your responsibility to record a new name with a new person?
What's up, Montero? I see you.
So we don't necessarily record it, but we are actually in the process of building a database. So that exorcists would have access to the database, because
Why haven't they upped their technology? Like, yeah.
Those things, or even some of the more common ones like Abaddon is the demon of destruction. You'll get, you can find out a fair amount of information about these guys. We'll put those in the database, but there's a lot of ones that are less known, and so exorcists come across them. I've come across demons that other exorcists haven't. They've come across demons that I've never even heard of, and nobody's ever even heard of.
Dogface, man.
And it seems authentic, etc. So we want to get a database so that going forward, exorcists, if they come across somebody, they don't have to spend all the time doing the research. They can just quickly go take a look at the database and get a sense of this is what the guy's weaknesses are. This is what he got out in these these cases. This is what got him out.
I think they don't have regular names like that, Dogface, because they're from the old times. And you see, they got names like Gargamel and Azrael type shit because they from a different time, different language, different. Ain't no Charlies and Johnnies.
Well, this is his history, because like the god of Isis or Osiris, those are Egyptian gods, but those are also demons. So if you know what those are, then you can actually, you don't have to go and read a bunch of Egyptian in order to know what these guys are.
Can a demon possess multiple people at one time?
Yeah, you can. I actually had a case of that. Well, two cases, where the same.
Shout out Sean Ryan, man.
Sisters who were blood related.
And Father Chad Ripperger.
And so when we would do sessions with one, the other one would manifest from time to time outside of the session.
Holy shit!
So we had to do a lot of stuff to keep them, from what we call cross animation, which is where, when they're around each other, the demons are going to manifest. So you see that from time to time where.
So Ohio Ties, where are our Egyptian gods right now? Like, where is Osiris and Isis? Are they helping us? Horus, Osiris, Isis. Are we praying to them? Atlanta. End of Days movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah. But no, that's a real question because people be like Oshun and Ogun, like, where are they showing up?
Someone who's possessed, they'll get around someone else who's possessed. And whoever has the lower demons in them will be the one where the.
Did Horus talk against the apple juice? Or did he free the apple juice?
Lowest demon will manifest in the presence of the bigger demon. But they can possess more than one. They generally can only act on one thing at a time.
Okay.
But Thomas Aquinas says that they can act
I'm just really asking.
on a number of different things at the same time.
I'm really just asking because these are the first time I'm really thinking about this shit.
Idea. So, for example, someone can juggle where they're keeping several things in the air at once. Demons can act on, like, I want to act on these three people that I'm possessing because I'm, my access to them is the same. And so they.
Because right now, what I'm on right now, full-fledged, who was against this shit? Who talked against this shit? Who talked against this shit? Who got deleted? I know somebody that flipped tables and did all kinds of shit. Was like, these motherfuckers right here? No. Called them motherfuckers serpents and shit.
They can act on three people at the same time. But normally they don't do that.
And it sounds like all of these
Oh, my bad.
demons were false gods at some point. You said God, a Norse god, Egyptian gods, Baal, Moloch,
Yeah. Not.
Baphomet.
Yeah, so all the gods of the Gentiles are demons, which is true. I mean, the only ones I haven't come across are ones like for the Romans. Like, I haven't come across Mars or Jupiter or something like that. But the Egyptian gods come across, several of those. The Norse ones are taking them. They're rising up because of they're being introduced or being used in video games and things of that sort that the young men are doing. So you're starting to see more of those. But not all.
Wait, what?
The demons made themselves out to be a god to someone else.
Damn.
Introduced or being used in Mars or Jupiter or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so all the gods.
It's like all of these demons were false gods at some point. You said God, a Norse god, Egyptian gods, Baal, Moloch,
Yeah. Not.
Baphomet.
Yeah, so all the gods of the Gentiles are demons, which is true. I mean, the only ones I haven't come across are ones like for the Romans. Like, I haven't come across Mars or Jupiter or something like that. But the Egyptian gods come across, several of those. The Norse ones are taking them. They're rising up because of they're being introduced or being used in video games and things of that sort that the young men are doing. So you're starting to see more of those. But not all the demons made themselves out to be a god to someone else. So Satan never really did, even though he wants people to worship him. He doesn't have a specific religion. He wants his own.
And they all fall under him.
They do, yeah. So Satan.
Hold on, man. Hold on.
In video
Hold on.
games and things of that sort that the young men are doing. So you're starting to see more of those. But not all the demons made themselves out to be a god to someone else. So Satan never really did, even though he wants people to worship him. He doesn't have a specific religion. He wants his own.
And they all fall under him.
They do, yeah.
What about Greek gods?
Yeah, it's the same. Some I've seen exorcist scenes, some we haven't. So, I suspect at some point some exorcist has come across, Venus or whatever, but we just don't hear about it too often.
And so when we get into, looking back through time, when we're talking about Norse gods, Baal, Moloch, Greek god, any gods that, throughout history, does that mean that those gods were introduced by a demon?
Very often. So what will happen is, historically, either the demon will possess somebody in a particular culture, and then from there, the person kind of becomes like this oracle from which the rituals and the worship is designed, and the people are swayed into doing it. You're not going to have a case where they're actually going to appear as a general rule, although that has happened historically, where demons will appear as angels of light and claim to be, from God, and then say this is what you're supposed to do, and getting the person to start their own religion. We've seen that happen a couple of times actually. One in more modern history, and one near 600. So we've seen those particular things happen.
What was the one in modern history?
The Mormons. So, I'm sure there's a lot of Mormons out there who are not going to be happy when I said that, but the angel that appeared to him, it actually gets to the line from St. Paul, which is actually on the outside of the cathedral in Salt Lake, if I'm not mistaken, but out on the outside, it's, even if an angel were to preach to you another gospel. So you have those particular things that are actually, and the other thing is too, is that, at least in the relationship with the Mormons, I don't want to get too deep into it, but that it's actually, it's a modified form of Freemasonry anyway.
I mean, that sounds like the ultimate deception if they come to you.
So who was just
you know,
talking about that?
You know, to appear to be.
Who was just talking about that in the
I
chat
mean,
Yeah.
the other day?
how does that look?
That it's actually it's a modified form of Freemasonry anyway. Salt Lake is actually the
Somebody was just talking about
appeared
this.
to him, it actually gets to the line from St. Paul, which is actually on the outside of the cathedral in Salt Lake, if I'm not mistaken, but out on the outside, it's even if an angel were to preach to you another gospel. So you have those particular things that are actually and the other thing is that at least in the relationship with the Mormons, I don't want to get too deep into it, but that it's actually it's a modified form of Freemasonry anyway.
The Mormons? Ooh-wee.
I mean, that sounds like the ultimate deception if they come to you in a light, to appear to be angelic. I mean,
Yeah.
how does that look in God's eyes? Fall
Uh,
into that deception.
well, God's allowing it, obviously, because they literally, like I said, the battlefield is completely determined by Christ. So Christ is allowing it. And I once asked this one colleague of mine, I said, well, what do you think is the reason for the Muslims? He said, to afflict the West. Right? So God will allow these particular things to afflict us in order for us to get our act together, but also to reveal to us that, look, if you start your own religion, it's just going to go bad, and it's just not going to be true.
Shit.
So I think in God's eyes, I think that's part of it. But I think on the side of the human beings, we're just easily deceived. Because demons they can present themselves in a very positive light. Everywhere from anything from actually appearing as an angel of light. People actually see this bright figure appear in front of them, all the way down to giving people amorous feelings. So the person says, "Oh, it must be from God because it's helping me to love people more." No, that's not necessarily the case.
Will we be judged for that? I mean, that it just sounds like the ultimate deception, almost. And he allowed it.
Yeah.
So can we be blamed if we're that? I mean, earlier you had mentioned, we're stupid, but we are stupid.
We are stupid. On the other hand, we're not that stupid. So,
No. I'm not talking about you. 7:30. Yeah. You were. Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, God would be able to judge the particular individual soul. So it might be possible that someone started their own religion not knowing that they were completely deceived. But my experience in reading about these people's history is there's often points that after they've had these experiences that it becomes clear to them, or they start having the thoughts, maybe I'm possessed, or maybe this isn't from God. And so they don't take the necessary steps to properly discern it. The other thing is it's kind of that line in scripture, I was duped, I'll let myself be duped. People, the demons appeal to people's pride of, God has chosen you to start this religion. And so that's one of the signs you always see in people who start the religion. It's always a pride element.
When we're talking about the occult and satanic rituals and worshiping, and are these people, are they possessed? Are they hoping to be possessed? They want to be possessed? Are they inviting
Dot Focus, what up?
demons into their soul, into their mind, into their body?
Yeah, okay, so there's
This jive ass turkey.
They're not actually. They're actually not possessed. They're just involved in it because the demons do reward them, like by obsession or by giving them pleasure in doing sadistic things, and so they're not necessarily possessed. Some of them are possessed, and that's why they're actually involved.
Cabin in the Woods. I think I
Possessed.
did see that.
Some of them, as I mentioned too, there's like the family histories where it's in the family line. So the possession, actually, the father will actually have children and then do a ritual to get the demon that's possessing him into the child. So
That's
from
dirty.
generation to generation. So they'll have generational possession that's been going on for,
No, that's some dirty ass shit. I would not put that past these dirty motherfuckers. But to purposely have a child so that your demon could jump off your back and into your child. And that's what the movie The Entity was. Remember the movie Entity where I was telling y'all about that lady that was possessed? They studied the shit at UCLA. And that demon was following her family from generations. And the demon ended up being like one of her great-great-grandfathers. and it was chasing her great great grandfather was like a rapist, and it was like the demon followed her family and was raping women. Ooh wee.
Literally hundreds of years in some cases. And so those people, they know they're possessed, and they like it.
So is that like generational trauma?
Well, it's distinct from generational trauma in the sense that generational trauma is something that gets passed from generation to generation, but it's more of a psychological thing, even though demons
How
can
did
be
this shit
involved
get
in
like
it.
this?
But you can have generational trauma without it being possession. But the possession can be the result of the trauma.
So when you're saying a father does a ritual on his offspring to carry on the possession,
Right.
what would that look like?
Well, very often it's just some type of either like a black mass or some type of other satanic ritual that they actually have, because they have a variety of different ones that they do. Sometimes it just involves satanic ritual abuse of their own child. They'll abuse the child sexually or some other fashion. So you'll see that they'll do specific things to rituals that are somewhat designed for it. But it's usually some type of black mass or satanic ritual abuse that occurs.
You said black mask?
Black mass.
Black mass.
Yeah.
Black mass. And so if it's sexual in nature or
Why is my shit looking like
something
this?
horrific like that, I would imagine that creates a hatred between the father and the son, and the father and the
What the
daughter.
fuck happened to my
Yes, it does,
shit?
Jerry. Yeah.
And so, how would that get carried on? Do they teach them later in life, this is what you have to do to your kids? How does
Yes.
it get paid forward?
Oh yeah, they do. Just as you would teach your kids about Christ and give them catechesis about this is how this is what we believe about Christ, this is how you behave. They do the same thing, except in relationship to their occult practices and Satan. So they do the same thing.
Why would that person want to carry it forward, though?
Because of the fact that usually during that process, they'll teach them rituals which empower them in relationship to other people or other things, especially with the boys, not so much with the girls. Very often what will happen is that they'll teach the boys how to engage in satanic ritual abuse, which is sexual in nature, and the boys physically enjoy it, and so they'll have that motivation. So there can be natural motivations. Two, once the possession occurs, the demons will drive the person to want to know more about it.
Okay. And then the last one, subjugation.
So subjugation is when people make a pact with the devil, which, if I remember right, between Danasagen and demons can't make a pact, technically speaking. A pact is a contract. In order to validly enter into a contract, you have to be able to have assurance that the other person, that both parties can fulfill the terms of the contract. Well, demons can't guarantee that they can actually give you the terms of the contract, because of the fact that even though we can do something sinful and that opens the door, only God,
just happened?
Christ, is the one who determines whether it can step across the threshold. And the way we know this is actually, again, going back to that where the demoniac has legion and they asked to go into the pigs. The demons know Christ, because Christ himself said, all authority has been given to me on heaven and earth, right? They know that they can't do anything without his permission. And that's why the demons approach him and say, let us go into the pigs. Because if they could do whatever they wanted, they would just went into the pigs. They wouldn't even have asked him. But they didn't. They knew that he determines anything that they can do. Their spiritual warfare, the battle, the complexion spiritual warfare is entirely determined by Christ. How much of who can possess somebody, the degree of the possession, what kinds of manifestations they can do, all those things, Christ completely determines. Even in relationship to ourselves, the types of temptations that we undergo and that type of thing, Christ is the one who determines what the temptation can be, the degree of the temptation, how long it's going to go on, etc.
All right. I'm not going to watch all this. There's something else I want to show y'all. How, Sway? Exactly. How? How, Sway? Hold on. Okay, let me close this out. Something happened. I don't know why my YouTube is looking like that right now. Hold on. There's something that I was watching the other day that I want you guys to look at, man. Oh, shoot. Keem and Trev debate LaRussell Heaven Sin controversy, episode 2. They had another episode. There you go. Shout out to VBC. Keem, Keem got sunglasses on. Oh, shoot. Let's go. Okay, history. Where we at? Damn, this shit is crazy. What do I want to do? What do I want to do? It's some.
Welcome to Afghanistan. This is Shari Gogula, also known as the City of Screens. In 1221, the Mongols, led by Genghis Khan, ordered the destruction of every living being in this area, including children. Today, this archaeological site is considered by locals as one of many anomalous locations.
I don't know
across the
why my
country
shit is looking like
where
this.
Spectral apparitions and disembodied voices can be seen and heard at night. Encounters with the paranormal have been reported from both locals and foreigners in this and nearby areas for several decades, more than anywhere else in South Asia and its neighboring Middle East. Stories of modern-day encounters that go beyond rational logic have been reported across Afghanistan, from encounters with ancient giants, cryptids,
No need to apologize for that.
to the alleged discovery of advanced ancient technology that can manipulate time and space itself. In this episode, we're going to question what makes our South Asian neighbor home to so many unexplainable events.
I gotta figure out how to kick this thing out.
There's a reason why Afghanistan is called
gotta
the
go to
graveyard
dashboard.
of empires. Even though in the 21st century, this country has more in common with South Asia than the Middle East, being culturally, linguistically, and even genetically different from its Arab and Persian neighbors. It does share a history with our region since it was partially home to the lost Persian empires that were spawned from ancient Mesopotamia. With that shared history comes legends and tales of monsters and demons that not only exist in historical narratives found in old cuneiform texts, but also in real-life encounters of the 21st
I gotta figure
century.
out how to get rid of that bot.
In the late 2000s, a phone call to the show Coast to Coast by a man claiming to be a US pilot details a cargo he allegedly flew from Afghanistan. This cargo was the corpse of a red-headed 12-foot human who weighed upwards of 1,500 pounds and had 6 fingers and toes. Apparently, this giant had attacked a small squadron of soldiers who had ventured into the mountains during one of their missions. 9 soldiers were ripped apart and eaten by this creature before being taken down. The soldier
I forget how to do it. It's a way. I don't even know how to delete somebody.
Steps and was incredibly strong.
Right, AI mod don't see the spam.
17 years later, on the 12th of April,
Ohio Ties, do you know how to
the U.S. Air Force dropped its MOB
kick somebody out?
that
I don't know how to
contained
do it.
21,600 pounds of explosives and had a mile-long blast radius. This device has not been used before due to concerns of the widespread collateral it could cause. However, alternative theorists say that an exception was made that day because the targets were not humans, but literal giants. And these giants allegedly possess technological secrets going back to the origins of mankind. According to the controversial Corey Good, these beings are being kept alive by stasis chambers, and that there is an active global mandate to locate these giants and their technology that were created by what he calls an ancient builder race. This race that is extraterrestrial in
Why
origin,
did Dogface's shit get
not
erased?
only have been
Oh, I
found
deleted that
interpreted
message?
by pre-Christian religions as gods, but also by modern-day Christians as fallen angels. These creatures were so technologically advanced, ancient man viewed them as supernatural,
I just modded you, Ohio.
while the existence of stasis chambers has yet to be proven as real, with the only proof seen online so far discovered in nearby Kyrgyzstan as part of an elaborate hoax, or what seemed like a hoax. Evidence of other alleged advanced technologies have also been found across South Asia and the Middle East. In both ancient Persian cuneiform texts and Indian religious writings, references to nuclear technology and its aftermath have been found. Meanwhile, Adolf is now infamously known
Dogface because of the what?
more Stargates, which are devices that can transport humans to other worlds.
Dogface is a fool, man.
Even through time.
You guys are still on YouTube. Go for the kick,
Speaking of
man.
time, back in Afghanistan, other anomalous technologies were allegedly found within its cave system. These claims have been taken so seriously, even mainstream news sources from neighboring India have reported and continue to report on these discoveries.
Damn, it's been removed.
In 2012,
What up, Demon Bushido? What's happening with you?
Sent into Afghanistan's vast cave network following an alleged discovery of an ancient flying machine trapped within what news sources call a time well, a temporal anomaly that warps the flow of time in and around itself. According to various online blogs, news sites, and TV networks, the expedition was sent there to investigate the disappearances of 8 of their servicemen who had made the initial find. Academics say that the machine matched the description of a Vimana, a vehicle from Hindu mythology that should not exist in reality. It is believed that the time well belonged to Zarathustra, a powerful mystic from ancient Persia who founded one of the largest and most mysterious monotheistic faiths of the ancient world, Zoroastrianism. But how does this ancient Persian belief connect to ancient Indian mythology, given that they're from cultures that are very different from each other? While some scholars state that Zoroastrianism actually originated in India, the consensus is that it is a Middle Eastern faith with Persian roots. This leads us to Hindu-Indian mythology and the alleged 2012 discovery of a time well in nearby Afghanistan. This anomaly that was allegedly found in a remote cave system has been described as warping the flow of time, looping a single moment of itself over and over.
And who believes that that Gilgamesh was found in Iraq? Who believes that Gilgamesh was found in Iraq? That they found Gilgamesh's body, they found fallen angels. That was the whole reason for them. A lot of these wars is to go and recover these fallen angels and to recover and to have these DNAs to reproduce. They saying CERN. They saying all this stuff that Iraq, Iran, they have all these things in the Middle East that we never talk about. We never talk about the jinn. We never talk about the stuff in the Kabbalah and all that stuff, because they're doing the weapons of mass destruction are not necessarily weapons of mass destruction. They're trying to find these relics, these arcs, these certain things, and trying to get access to certain shit. Right. They went to Iraq's museum. Singing. Oh man, this fool, man. This nigga be having me dying laughing for real, like. Oh man. The hell is wrong with this fool, man? Let's go.
over again, indefinitely, allowing for the
This nigga dog face, man, is crazy.
Whether it is a natural, supernatural, or technological.
Hey man, you guys head over to
phenomenon.
Kick, man.
Scroll, making their current whereabouts unknown. According to bloggers and online news outlets that covered the discovery, the time well operates along the lines of an electromagnetic radiation gravity field, something which was first postulated by Albert Einstein as the unified field theory, and long rumored to be behind the 1943 World War II experiment in Philadelphia, United States, that saw a naval vessel literally phased out of time. According to accounts written in the Sanskrit text, the Mahabharata, which is an ancient Hindu book,
The Mahabharata.
the Vimana flying machines themselves are a type of meta-upa, out-of-place artifact, since they describe advanced ancient technology that closely resembles real-world modern technology. In these ancient Sanskrit books, the Vimana is illustrated as measuring at 12 cubits in circumference with 4 solid wheels. These machines also have defensive and offensive mechanisms incorporated into them, essentially making them weapons. In the ancient writings of the Vaimanika Sastra, a Sanskrit book on aerospace technology written in 1923, the author makes a claim that the Vimanas mentioned in ancient epics, like the Mahabharata, were advanced aerodynamic flying vehicles similar to a rocket capable of interplanetary flight. He states that it's an apparatus which can go by its own force from one place to place or globe to globe.
There's shit we don't know about.
Philippe Kumar Kanjilal, a leading expert.
That's it. That's all I know. That's what I do know is that there is shit we do not fucking know about.
Limited numbers of people.
What up, Burnt Out?
There were 3 flying cities made for and were used by the demons. One was in a stationary orbit in the sky, another moving in the sky, and one was permanently stationed on the ground. These were docked like modern spaceships in the sky and at a fixed latitude and longitude. Most interestingly is his use of the term demons used to describe the pilots.
In 2008, U.S. Marines stationed in Helmand Province could not explain a series of anomalous events that plagued their mission. Strange lights at night, disembodied whispers, the sudden drafts of ice-cold air during the middle of summer.
The fuck is a disembodied whisper? What is a disembodied whisper? I don't know, but we about to find out. Let's go.
An occasional smell of rotting flesh with no specific origin would plague the men. Akin to the reported occurrences of similar anomalies in Shahr-e-Gulgula, where the Mongol Empire had laid to waste the lives of scores of people in the 13th century, could another paranormal imprint that appears to be related to a large-scale tragic event
Shout out
be
Dogface.
manifesting in Helmand Province? According to the New York Times, in the late 2000s, the men stationed here discovered small tunnels dug into its base that led to a single chamber that appeared to be a fort or tomb. The tunnels were eventually destroyed to prevent insurgents from using the area as a hideout. But in the months and years that passed, buried human bones were discovered across the area. While it's natural to assume that these remains were that of insurgents, it soon became clear that they were at least decades old, and in some cases
I'm like this in the statue too, like.
Speaking to the newspaper, a local scholar explained that the hill had originally been the 18th century fort, but eventually ethnic Pashtuns saw it and other structures like it in the area as spiritual sites, and so over time, they eventually transformed them into burial areas. Archaeologists and historians believe that it was last likely used as a graveyard around 1980, at the start of the Soviet-Afghan conflict. During this time, Nasim Akhundzada, a Pashtun warlord who operated in Helmand Province, surrounded, captured, and throttled roughly 40 Afghan communist police officers near the area. Akin to the Shahr-e-Gulgula phenomena, could a possible cause of the modern-day anomalies be due to a huge loss of life? In 1982, Soviet forces
John B.
suffered a devastating
Came in here, got deleted right away.
resulted in many of them not returning home to their families. According to local residents, elements of
Jubby
battle
sick.
were
That's the
immediately
AI mod, Jubby. My bad.
When the Soviet armored columns approached the Amir Aga shrine, the tanks became stuck in the mud, which in itself is nothing too weird. But whenever they attempted to detonate any type of device, their equipment would fail, with eyewitnesses even testifying to seeing several armored vehicles collapsing or sinking into the earth and completely vanishing.
Jubby, I already told you to come out to drive over here, man. I can't give you any more invites. I said it's an open door policy,
Not
nigga.
the result of ghosts. On a side point, being an Islamic country, the concept of ghosts are considered as fantasy. Instead of ghosts, we believe in jinn.
Oh shit. Why am I acting like Jubby bit on?
Jinn are attracted to the remains of the dead and may frequent locations.
My
such
bad.
as graveyards
My
or
bad.
churches.
Wait. Jubby, I'm acting like I'm acting like you've been over here before. My bad, dude. My bad. I gotta send you the address. Burnt, like I gotta figure out what the moderator, the AI moderator. It's just deleting everything. It's deleting everything. Literally everything. Shit. I mean, it's just getting rid of every damn message. Okay, I'm gonna go to it right now.
Speaking to the
Kick
New York
dashboard.
Times, Jose Herrera, one of the Marines that had spent time there in 2009, witnessed mysterious lights, heard strange static on the radio, and much like several other Marines who had spent time there, he felt that someone or something invisible was watching them. On another occasion, an embedded foreign journalist complained about
Dogface, they gonna ban you. Be careful, because they will ban you. Don't do that.
That went beyond scientific explanation.
What's up, Booger?
This was in addition to also witnessing
About the
strange lights
LLC?
and
No,
hearing
about-
phantom
I don't think
voices
of
in the
them.
night,
You are?
Yeah.
some of which
Why?
were so
'Cause I can't.
clear,
Okay.
witnesses identified them
Okay.
as Russian. So what could be the source of all these anomalous occurrences taking place in a single area? If we're to dismiss any supernatural explanation, such as the influence of spirits, then could these strange accounts be scientific in origin and linked to any of the advanced ancient technology allegedly found in the region, including what we've already mentioned in this episode? In a paper written in the early 2000s, Dr. Michael Sala from the Exopolitics Organization proposed the hypothesis that the entire nation of Afghanistan is directly positioned above a vast energy portal, attracting otherworldly visitors to the region. What exactly the scientific nature of this energy portal he speaks of is unclear, with some proponents of the theory labeling it as a quote-unquote psychic. Regardless, it does explain why its neighbors in the Middle East, specifically Iran and Iraq, and even nearby Kuwait, have been witness to high amounts of unexplainable anomalies, while the rest of the GCC and nearby Asia experience very little supernatural phenomena in comparison. Could all of the unexplainable instances witnessed in the northern parts of the Gulf and in Afghanistan truly be the result of advanced or alien technology that is merely misinterpreted or supernatural? Or is there something truly paranormal at play? In the next 2 episodes, we'll take a very dark journey into nearby Iraq to continue this investigation. In addition to how its Levantine neighbor of Lebanon dealt with a high-profile paranormal anomaly that became so prominent, the Catholic Church as well as the government had to take direct action. Make sure you're subscribed, leave your opinion, and see you in the next one.
I can't get rid of the mod. There's no option to get rid of them. It's nowhere it says to get rid of this motherfucker.
Many historians are convinced that he discovered Abdul Wahid Yahya, believed that he discovered a metaphysical secret that governed the entire planet and the lives of everyone on it, known as the Seven Towers of Satan, a concept that mixes contradictory elements of Abrahamic and pre-Abrahamic beliefs, folklore, and fantasy. These towers are believed to be so powerful that in 1939, the Germans were actively trying to find them. In the 21st century, many historians are convinced that this search is ongoing, executed by powerful organizations striving to learn their secrets. The first location pinpointed by Yahya is the Afro-Arabian country of Sudan, home to one of the oldest civilizations on the planet and a direct cousin of the ancient Egyptians. Meanwhile, the country of Niger is believed to be the second. The third location highlighted is Syria, a country where the ancient Phoenicians lived and giants are rumored to have walked. The fourth is the Eastern European country of Turkestan, existing just beyond the outer fringes of the Middle East. The fifth and the sixth are further north in Russia's mountain range and in the western part of Siberia. The seventh are the lands that make up ancient Mesopotamia, that being Iraq, Iran, and by extension Afghanistan. In the 21st century, fringe research organizations and think tanks have stated that this area in particular is a lightning rod for negative anomalous activity. So in this episode, we'll examine exactly what the Seven Towers of Satan are, specifically within Iraq, and how this fringe theory have historically influenced the perception of one of Iraq's oldest pre-Islamic communities. Our adventure begins in the mid-2000s, when a series of alleged anomalous instances in Iraq resulted in the loss of several lives. In 2005, a U.S. Army Criminal Investigations Department official was embedded within an infantry unit in the Sulaymaniyah government
Damn it.
in Iraqi Kurdistan. Here, he was briefed about a mysterious creature attacking the locals that no one was able to identify. According to villagers, people were being hunted by a type of ghoul, which according to some traditions is a class of jinn. This one in particular was described as being a very tall humanoid creature with disproportionately long arms and legs. What made this case significantly disturbing was that while according to our religion and lore, jinn and ghouls tend to generally stay clear of living humans, this one in particular had a taste for human blood. Initially, the CID assumed that it was merely a crazed soldier who has gone AWOL, fatally attacking civilians due to the stress of the conflict. However, after several days of surveillance and searching, they could not find any evidence to support this theory. Meanwhile, the residents were adamant that something was indeed hunting and eating.
I was just talking about
to the point
Rasputin just
they were afraid
recently,
to leave their homes,
earlier today.
even during the daytime. According to the author Lon Stickler, in his book Phantoms and Monsters, the case took a bizarre turn when one evening the squad leader reported hearing
I was talking about the sorcery and the magic of Rasputin and how they often, because they thought he was in bed with those people, and then they kicked those people out. Well, first they let them live, let them do the pilgrimage, but then they kicked them out. I went over that whole, I didn't go in depth about it, but I was talking a little bit about it.
a shrill, unearthly scream echoed through the air outside, where it seemed to come out from the direction of a nearby mountain pass. Under the bright light of the full moon, when they went to investigate, Some of the villagers explained that the noise was the scream of the thing that had been feeding off them. However, within feet of closing in on the source of the howling, upon entering the pass using night vision and high-intensity lights, they found nothing. Not a footprint or any evidence that any animal or man was there. It was as if it had vanished into thin air. A similar instance was reported at another time, when soldiers watching the perimeter spotted a humanoid figure about 100 yards away from the camp.
Check that out.
It had apparently appeared out of nowhere and was just standing there. Using their equipment, they could see something vaguely human that was fully clothed, but similar to the CID incident. Its body, arms, and legs were bizarrely out of proportion. Of most concern to the soldiers, this being was not giving off a heat signature, being the exact temperature of the air around it. As expected, this caused a commotion amongst them, and so they sent a team to approach the entity. When they got about 50 yards away, the being started walking, but not in any direction, just in one place.
Damn.
According to accounts, the entity looked like it was trying to walk, but instead of moving like a regular person, its bones were breaking and splintering backwards and forwards at the joints. Its head was jerking around like a puppet, and by the time the convoy got a few yards closer, it vanished. When the team headed back to camp, the anomaly reappeared in the same spot. Instead of reapproaching it the second time, the camp studied it from a distance until it disappeared after several hours. So if these events really did occur, what do they have to do with the 7 Towers of Satan? Well, another instance of an encounter with an anomalous humanoid being occurred in an area of Iraq, closely connected to a community of Kurdish Iraqis called Yazidis. We'll get back to them and their connection to all of these instances later. But first, in the summer of 2006, in an area called Sinjar, home to the Yazidi tribe, one soldier reported that around 3 a.m., his equipment was registering a person approaching them from the base of the mountain. However, this individual could not be seen with the naked eye, even at 150 meters away, where it stopped and vanished. Similar to the earlier encounter with a distorted entity that walked without moving, this being did not give off a heat signature either. According to the lore and religion of Iraq, these 3 instances of humanoid-like beings appearing, disappearing, and even attacking people would be classed under the category of the aforementioned jinn or ghouls. However, while Islam speaks of jinn, secular sources such as exopolitics, which we mentioned in the previous episode, states that Iraq and its neighbor Iran are situated on top of vast energy portals that connect our reality with other dimensions, attracting aliens and otherworldly creatures to the area. Now, while this clearly sounds like science fiction, it's not a new concept. The turn of the 20th century French Sufi philosopher Abdelwahid Yahya, more commonly known as René Guénon, states that there are 7 locations across Africa, the Middle East, and Eastern Europe that have a geographic topography that has been anonymously altered to accommodate negative energy, allowing supernatural instances to easily occur there. These 7 locations are called the 7 Towers of Satan due to the negative energy generated from these areas. Specifically, these locations are meant to be where the 7 angels fell from heaven, turning their landing points evil. Of course, within Islam, of which Yahya was a convert to, the idea of angels becoming demonic is rejected in our tradition, because angels are the definition of purity and thus cannot be corrupted. However, using this energy that is apparently generated here, Yahya states that some believe that with it, they can take possession of a singular dark force.
All right, see if you guys can type something in now.
Giving them power over the earth. It's been noted that in their research into occult technology, the Germans,
I think we
under
should be
the
good
direction
now.
of
There we
Heinrich
go.
Himmler, believed this and was actively searching for these locations in the 1940s. In fact,
Nope.
in March 2016, a collection of 13,000 occult and witchcraft books were found in the National Library of the Czech Republic in Prague belonging to him, proving the interest the Reich had in acquiring this power.
Some of it, nope. Some of it's like somebody got to say a curse word at least. I put it on unfiltered. It should be on unfiltered now. Yeah, see, there you go. Ohio Ties is in there. Damn, why is some of it getting deleted? They on Dogface for sure. See? Look. Look. We good. It's just certain people, they own certain people. But I put it to unfiltered, so we should be good. So spam is going to come through though. So we should be good now though. I think we should be good now. My bad, y'all. Damn. My bad.
Yet, how true any of the lore surrounding the actual existence of these towers is subject to debate. Within Iraq in particular, the Yazidi people have recently been directly connected to these towers by prominent Western occultists, while for centuries before that, they've been long accused of being Satanists by other Iraqis due to their alternative take on the creation story of man and their worship of a quote-unquote
Scotty 3757, thank you for following.
have traditionally been viewed with suspicion.
Oh look, I got 4 subs now, man.
Because of their association with the worship of the peacock angel, known as Melek Taus. In recent times,
Bet you ain't never heard of that, War Chief. I bet you never heard of that, Jumbie.
as they became the targets of extremists. This is despite its scholars stating that the belief has nothing to do with the worship of fallen angels or Satan. So what's the truth concerning their belief? Well, it's kind of a gray area.
Kinda a gray area.
This association between the Yazidi and the occult can be traced back to H.P. Lovecraft himself and his close contemporaries from the early 1900s.
H.B.
even
Lovecraft,
though
check
the
that out.
accusations in the Middle East predate their science fiction writings. Arguably, one of the most influential Orientalists from the 20th century, and known for subverting various Middle Eastern beliefs into far darker versions of themselves. It would appear that some of Lovecraft's writing have played a role in maintaining this narrative concerning the Yazidis, at least in Western occult circles. In the story The Horror at Red Hook, Lovecraft speaks specifically of the Kurdish Yazidis as the last survivors of the Persian devil worshippers. The Horror of Red Hook was first published in January 1927, 9 months before the publication of William Seabrook's travel log, Adventures in Arabia, among the Bedouins and Yazidi devil worshippers. This work has become an important source for many occultists in understanding the Yazidi tradition. In this travel log, Czech Republican Seabrook, belonging to an occultist himself, makes the claim that the Yazidis are not only devil worshippers, but they control an extensive network of 7 towers to broadcast their energy across the world. According to him, in a theory that significantly differs from Abdulwalid Yahya's research, these towers do not stretch from Niger to Russia, but instead from Japan to Iraq. They're located on a chain of 7 isolated mountaintops across Asia. Seabrook claims that from each one of these towers, a priest would maintain these broadcasts of dark energy to the rest of the world. It should be noted that, unlike Lovecraft, who openly stated that his work is pure science fiction and should not be taken remotely seriously, Seabrook, whose writings are clearly influenced by Lovecraft, states that his version of the 7 Towers lore is true. Consequently, critics have trashed his assertions as complete nonsense, as the Kurdish Yazidi culture has zero historical and cultural connections to Japanese and Chinese heritage in the ways that he describes. According to Birgül Senegal, a lecturer of art history at the Mardin Artukulu University in Turkey and an expert on Yazidi culture, there is no evil in the Yazidi thought. These accusations of Satanism are merely the result of their significantly different take on the Abrahamic creation story. According to their belief, Lucifer did not betray God and create evil, but simply manifested himself to the world, becoming the bridge between humans and the Creator.
Hey, you gotta come talk about it, Jumpy man.
Conclusion,
Let me send you the address.
the narrative has grown around the Yazidi community in both the East and the West, encompassing everything from the mainstream religion to the writings and research in the works of Abdulwalid Yahya and William Seabrook, amongst others. If they're truly satanic or not,
And you guys gotta look up Lovecraft. You gotta look up that person.
the creation story and how they view key figures in it is up to you to decide. Regardless, the outstanding issue that remains concerns the existence of the 7th tower, or more specifically, the alleged paranormal energy that is said to have at one time and maybe still be
Look at
present in
Persia.
this location.
What does Persia look like?
While there is clearly
Where's
a lot of
Persia?
myth regarding the supernatural legacy of Baroque and some of its people, maybe within that myth, there are still kernels of truth concerning ancient Mesopotamia and the unspeakable horrors that could be hidden in its history.
Jumpy's vindicated.
What
Jumpy, you've been vindicated.
what perspective do you take?
Y'all motherfuckers go and subscribe, man.
Sound off in the comments. Like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.
Like and subscribe. Y'all go sub up, mother suckers. We gonna do this one. The CERN theory, we could do the CERN theory, that one. Chimeras and dogmen, Atlantean giants, the but you know what? Just because Dogface is here. It is for Dogface, just because I love my nigga Dogface. This is for him. This is for my guy.
The location was my home of Palestine. The year was 1571 during the Ottoman period, and the victim, the nephew of a Joshua bin Nun, an important figure at the time, who was caught in the grip of an entity that would not let go.
This is for Dogface, the Kabbalah and the occult. Just because we've been on this eyes wide shut shit, this Epstein file shit, we're going to talk about the real golems, Dibbicks, and eldritch beings, jinn, all that stuff. Strange encounters with real golems, whatever, golem, dibbuks, and eldritch beings. And then for my dude, Burnt Out, got something for my guy too. But we're going here first. This is for Dogface for sure.
A race of human-like extra-dimensional beings made from fire. This was different. This was a creature that within Kabbalistic traditions is a member of a class of terrifying anomaly known to specifically cling to humans. Before the growing influence of European powers, 16th century Palestine was a flourishing society with a strong infrastructure, economic stability, and most importantly, religious tolerance. This tolerance allowed for Kabbalistic study to flourish within the region, an esoteric form of Jewish mysticism not too different from Sufism that was given safe haven in the Islamic Ottoman Empire at that time. But it is here that the first recorded instance of this terrifying anomaly was documented. The man who conducted the exorcism was Isaac Luria, a prominent Kabbalist.
We're here now.
Through
We're
his
here now.
exorcism, he determined that reality does not end at death, but could in fact be just the beginning. Although his ideas remain controversial and
We're here now, Dogface.
some of those who agree with Luria's ideas via the Kabbalah faith that the entity that attached itself to this boy is evidence of a broader mystery, a terrifying through line that can be traced from 16th century Palestine to modern day New York. This connects to a wider conspiracy that includes the creation of monsters, the summoning of demons, reincarnation, reanimating of the deceased, but most terrifyingly sex magic, and the activities of groups of powerful people who mistakenly believe that they are tapping into a cosmic horror so vast in scale, it crosses multiple timelines and realities, leaving us with a question: could their twisted interpretation of this belief risk unleashing terrible forces into our modern world?
What y'all think? What you think? What y'all think? Oh, you on YouTube, you can't hear it. My bad. Come over to Kick, man. Come over to Kick. We watching the Kabbalah and the occult. Strange encounters with real golems, dibbuks, and eldritch beings.
And clinical supervisor
Mysterious
of
Middle
private
East.
practice in Manhattan, New York, published a paper detailing her encounter with a man who claimed to be possessed by an entity from ancient Middle Eastern lore. Sitting across from her, Danny, a pseudonym used to protect his anonymity, was a successful, handsome, but lonely economist.
Trying to
in his
find
30s,
something for my dude
whose
Burnt
life
Out.
was beginning to unravel under the weight of his affliction. According to Danny, the presence typically manifested during heightened states of arousal. In one session, he described in explicit detail a fantasy about a co-worker, an imagined seduction that led to an intimate encounter. But as he finished recounting the story, he confessed something chilling. "It's not me talking," he said. "It's him, the Dibbuk." In Jewish folklore, a Dibbuk is a spirit not unlike a jinn, an entity that roams homeless, seeking to possess a living host, often refusing to let go. Jewish mythology frequently links ghosts and spirits to sin and Sith, with the ancient Mesopotamian entity Lilith playing a key role in these narratives. While Dr. Atlas ultimately interpreted Danny's affliction as a psychological rather than supernatural as a result of his loneliness, a lingering question remains: what if the entity speaking through him was real and exploiting his loneliness? And if it was real, how does it
Found
connect to a broader conspiracy involving a supernatural forces that interact with humans through sexuality? Dr. Atlas wrote that Danny believed that the only way to rid himself of the entity was through
Keep the super
ritual
chat. Let me see.
found in the Kabbalah, an historic tradition within Jewish mysticism
$10 super
that
chat from
exposes
Jumbie. Thank you on YouTube. Super chat. Thank you, Jumbie. The eldritch beings in the Lovecraft wrote fairy tales about were demons and gods and deities. He was commissioned to summon by redacted. He wrote his real journals under the name Augustus T. Swift. Is that why they canceled the HBO show? Lovecraft Country, Witchcraft and Love. There was a black scary show on HBO that I was loved. It was bomb. Thank you for the super chat. $10 super chat from Jumbie. The Eldritch beings the Lovecraft wrote fairy tales about were demons and gods and deities he was commissioned to summoned by. He wrote his real journals under the name Augustus T. Swift. Ooh. Damn. Let's go.
The hidden nature of the universe, and the spiritual forces shaping reality. These sacred texts have also been linked to a range of French
Slavery was a mass ritual.
And a much broader conspiracy. One involved.
Hold on, man. We got to get into that. We got to get it. We got to talk about that kind of shit, man. That's the kind of shit we need to be talking about, Jumbie. We need to be talking about African lore of why slavery was made. Slavery was a mass ritual in their cult. T Swift makes me think Taylor Swift, and she has a hit song called Augustus. Oh, shit. They wanted to find ways to make it law. Exactly. For sure, for sure. But the other thing that I had talked about, I was like, you think once they was done with slavery and all that horrible shit that they were doing, their lust for blood just disappeared? They have a lust for blood. They have a lust for that killing and that demonic shit. You think once slavery was abolished, that lust and that bred destruction and shit just left them? Nah, they had to do it to somebody. They started doing it to their own kids and all kinds of shit. Those monsters gotta eat. Man, it's worship. They're weakening our children's connection to energetic abilities, man. Let's get into it. Jumbie, let's get into it. The wall was built in Benin to keep them out. Now we cooking with fish grease.
Involving S magic, secret societies, and even world domination.
And after this, at another time, this is for my boy Burnt Out. At another time, we're going to go over this.
Linguists have long noted the similarity of the Phoenician language to ancient Gaelic, the Celtic language of Scotland and Ireland. The 16th century Jesuit historian Michael Alford noted Ireland's pagan origins run parallel to that of the Eastern Mediterranean. Him and other historians until today state that the pre-Christian Gaels worshipped a god to whom they offered burnt sacrifices and called Bel, which is strikingly similar to the god of the Phoenicians, the Canaanite Baal.
How are creatures from Irish mythology connected to North African and Middle Eastern history? From the Levant to North Africa, there
What?
is a growing amount of evidence proving that Ireland's Celtic origins is as much Mediterranean as it is European. That evidence can be found in both genetic and archaeological discoveries, as well as providing a context for a shared supernatural history.
For y'all over on YouTube, we are on Kick watching videos about Ireland's paranormal connection to Middle Eastern roots, folklore, Atlantis, and Baal. Gaelic, Scottish, Irish connections to the Middle East. With the paranormal shit. The connection from Ireland, Scotland to the Middle East, Eastern roots. It's real shit.
Join us as we collaborate with the H3XA channel.
Burnt Out saying you got me fucked up.
Irish people be the descendants of anomalous entities who originated from North African and Middle Eastern folklore.
Oh shit. So y'all want to do that one are the Kabbalah and the cult are exploring Ireland's. We could do the Kabbalah, the demons of the Kabbalah conspiracy, or we could do exploring Ireland's paranormal Middle Eastern roots. Whichever one y'all want. We could do the Kabbalah and the cult, or we could do exploring Ireland's paranormal connection to the Middle East. It's whichever one y'all want. Ireland, let's go.
Our adventure begins in 1955, when an Irish archaeologist, Dr. Sean O'Riordan, discovered the Bronze Age remains of a young prince during an excavation of the mound of Hostel.
This one's only
at
18
Town.
minutes burnt out.
Although the skeleton was carbon dated to
We'll do
around
both. We'll follow up this one with
in
the
1956, that scientists reported that a set
The
of
Kabbalah
beads
occult
the prince
shit.
was still wearing were ancient Egyptian. How was this possible? How could an ancient Egyptian relic be buried in a grave reserved for
Damn.
Irish royalty thousands of years before any known contact was made between Ireland and the Middle East? This is just one of several mysteries linking ancient Egypt and Ireland in ways historians have yet to fully understand, especially when it comes to the significance of Queen Scotia, an Egyptian princess who allegedly fled to Europe during a political upheaval in ancient Egypt. According to Irish folklore, Scotia died in an area now known as Scotia's Glen. Local lore says her grave is under a huge ancient stone inscribed with Egyptian hieroglyphs. It is said that the neighboring country of Scotland was named after her,
what?
and that she had come to Ireland to avenge the death of her husband, the King of Milesians, who had been wounded in a previous ambush in South Kerry.
Oh shit.
While many still believe these ancient Egyptian links lack
What up,
any
Cash?
credibility,
What's going on?
historian Ralph Ellis argues that actual evidence can be found in the ancient text, The History of Egypt, written in 300 BC by an Egyptian Greek historian. In this text, he says Scotia was actually Ankhesenamun, the daughter of Nefertiti and the wife of Tutankhamun, whom she married during the 18th dynasty of Egypt.
Daughter of Nefertiti, the wife of King Tut.
It is consistent with the theory that
I think-
Ireland, more than anywhere else this north of Europe, had an intimately close link between Africa and the Middle East. In
Y'all
1960,
subscribe. I need y'all subscriptions,
the
man.
Museum
We surviving over here.
in September of 2010 that a 1200-year-old psalter found in the Irish peat bog was written in Egyptian papyrus and enclosed in a leather Egyptian Bible. But going beyond historical events, what about genetic evidence?
In 2015,
Oh, shit,
researchers
burnt out.
from Trinity College Dublin found evidence of a massive migration from the Middle East to Ireland after sequencing the genomes of ancient Irish humans. The genome of an early woman farmer who lived near Belfast in Northern Ireland 5,200 years ago showed that her ancestry originated in the Middle East. The woman even had black hair and dark eyes, features more common with North Africa than Western Europe. DNA analysis of this Neolithic woman reveals that she
We
was
learning
mixed
shit over
with
here,
modern
man.
people from Spain and Sardinia, but her ancestors ultimately came to Europe from the Middle East. Professor Brian Sykes of the Institute of Molecular Medicine at Oxford University found that between 15 and 20% of Europeans have within the last 8,000 years inherited their DNA from the Bedouin of Saudi Arabia. Most fascinatingly, it is this
I didn't say it.
genetic link between the Middle East and Ireland that potentially takes us down a twisted rabbit hole well past the realm of traditional science and into the arena of the supernatural, the evidence of the existence of ancient giants, and further proof of the location of the lost city of Atlantis. The Fomorians are a supernatural race in Irish mythology.
The Fomorians are a supernatural race of giants. Are they Atlantean? What's Ireland and Scottish people, Scotland's connection to Atlantis? Middle Eastern shit, what's going on?
Yet are often portrayed as monstrous horned giants who come from beneath the earth and underneath the sea, raiding coastal communities and killing everything in their wake.
Everything.
In
Killing
an
everything.
earlier episode of the mysterious Middle East, we questioned whether these Fomorians were in fact the mysterious sea peoples, a seemingly anomalous race of humans who executed a series of devastating incursions against the coastal countries of ancient Egypt, Syria, and the rest of the eastern Mediterranean before disappearing back into their seas. Their attacks were so destructive
Oh, shit.
that it is believed entire cities and communities of peoples could have been wiped out of our history books. Like the Fomorians of Irish mythology, the Sea People's MO was to scale highly destructive attacks against coastal communities, and like the Fomorians, their army is said to consist of actual giants.
I wonder if that's where Vikings derive from Fomorians, the sea people, the giant sea people that were doing this shit to the coast, people that live on the coast. That's what Vikings was doing, right?
Although the etymology of their name is debated, it is generally agreed that the word Fomorian refers to the underworld and to supernatural giants. An alternative theory suggested by the Atlanticpedia website suggests that the term Fomorici means men of Morocco, while the Serbian organisation Cognitive Archaeology theorised that the Fomorian name sounds very close to the Slavic tribe of Pomerians, or Pomorians, meaning people living next to the sea. Even though it's a bit of a stretch, we can see how all three definitions can be directly associated with the peoples of the Maghreb region, that being Algeria, Morocco, and Mauritania, and that these three countries have a folklore associated with the supernatural giants. According to some fantastical literature, these creatures were the descendants of the prophet Noah, and consistent with the Christian belief, were part fallen angel, similar to the Nephilim giants. However, creatures like these also appear in North African Berber folk.
Boom! Boom! For y'all that didn't hear that, let's listen again. It's all connected, man.
These three countries have a folklore associated with the supernatural giants. According to some fantastical literature, these creatures were the descendants of the prophet Noah, and consistent with the Christian belief, were part fallen angel, similar to the Nephilim giants. However, creatures like these also appear in North African Berber folklore and the traditions of other African and Mediterranean communities. For example, in Greek mythology, the figure Antaeus was said to have been a Libyan giant, son of Poseidon and husband of the goddess Tingia, from whom the city of Tangier in Morocco is named after, with variations of the character appearing throughout Berber folklore.
What?
To the topic of genetics.
Holy shit, this shit's actually tripping me out. This shit is some of this shit I had no idea about. Now they about to tell us about the descendants of the Atlanteans. The Atlanteans, are they connected to Ireland and Scotland? Is that what we about to learn? Burnt Out is an Atlantean? Oh shit, that's my nigga right there.
Researchers from Queen Mary University London, studying ancient Irish mythology, noted that a significant amount of people of Irish descent have a genetic abnormality caused by the pituitary gland that may cause an unnatural growth, otherwise known as gigantism. The study, published in the journal Human Mutation, identified an increased number of patients born with this anomaly and demonstrates how a change in the gene called AIP was inherited from one single person, a common ancestor, who lived approximately 2,500 years ago.
What?
Although another study said that this ancestor may have been from 4,000 years ago. So we are theorizing, and it is only in theory.
Irish ancestor, one gene from one person of gigantism connected to the fallen angels, the Nephilim, Noah, and Irish people have that shit. What?
Ancestor may have been of North African origin, and that the source for the Celtic mythology that speaks of real giants invading.
Hey, if you really 6'5", Burnt Out, I'm not fucking with you no more. This nigga's got and he tall as shit. I don't fuck with you, man. From one short king to a tall king, I don't fuck with you, dude. Damn.
Somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. But where? Back in 2017, when the mysterious Middle East began uploading videos to YouTube, he spoke of the archaeological anomaly known as the Eye of the Sahara, located deep within Mauritania's desert, and how it is a candidate for the location of the lost city of
The
Atlantis.
Kandar giants had red hair?
More commonly known as the Rakat structure.
Kandar giants had red hair?
Weeks
Oh shit, it really is an Irish connection here. There's some, you know what, it's beyond Irish. It's Atlantean connection.
With this channel's upload became the focus of the far bigger channel Bright Insight. Consequently, the international media became aware of it and began to promote this anomaly as the principal candidate for the lost
It's
city of
Gaelic.
Atlantis. But how does this relate to Ireland and its historical relationship with Morocco and the rest of the Maghreb region? The late astronomer Thomas Carl Deptree wrote that Morocco was a colony of Atlantis, and it is from there that Atlantean culture was exported to Ireland. Although this is clearly a fringe theory, it is consistent with the more mainstream idea that Northwest African people, at some point in history, interacted with the ancient Irish, be it through a supernatural means or not. More famously, Edgar Cayce, an American author who claimed to be a clairvoyant, is one of the more fringe theorists who believe that some of the people of Atlantis were actual giants. If one believes that Atlantis actually existed, the sea peoples could have been Mauritanian, and by extension Moroccan and Algerian giants, who invaded Ireland, and their genetic descendants are now the modern-day Irish, hence why the frequent cases of pituitary gland mutations.
So is that a real thing? So that really is happening in Ireland? They have a pituitary gland thing where they have gigantism runs rampant in Irish people? Where's Kandar Giants? Kandar Giants were where? Afghanistan? Kandar Giants. Afghanistan. Kandar province, Afghanistan. Kandahar. They look like giant leprechaun troll. Like, oh shit. So we're going to go into the Kandahar story after this. Let's get back to it.
According to Plato's accounts written around 360 BC, Atlantis was a major seafaring power and a continent located in the Atlantic that was extremely large, larger than ancient Libya and Turkey put together. He states that by around 9600 BC, the island had conquered much of Western Europe and Africa and enslaved its enemies. This date would make the city nearly as old as the end of the last ice age and predates the earliest recorded city-states. Now, even if we were to disregard all of the paranormal elements of this theory, including the lost city of Atlantis and the existence of ancient giants, evidence of a link between North Africa and Ireland, and even the worship of the demonic Canaanite deity of Baal can still be found. One of the most detailed theories linking the Maghreb to Ireland can be found in the...
Well, shit, Jumbie, you said they're also found in Appalachia, but that's where a lot of Irish people migrated to, the north and to the Appalachians. A lot of Irish people went that way. And Utah. But Appalachians before it became what it is today. But why do you think Appalachia has all that spiritual crazy shit that's going on? They have all these dogmen shit, all this Sasquatch shit, all that stuff going on. Yeah. Yeah. Irish connection.
Research done by Bob Quinn. Quinn highlights that there are just way too many similarities between North African Berber culture and even its later Arab influence to that of Irish culture. Although Quinn does not believe in the existence of Atlantis as a real place, he suggests that Ireland's first inhabitants came by boat sometime after the end of the last ice age, probably from the south.
So under English is the substratum of Irish. Under Irish, there is a substratum of Hamito-Semitic languages.
My bad,
Hamitic would be
Lion, my bad.
And Semitic would be the language the Arabs speak. Hebrew is a Semitic language anyway. And Hamitic would be the language that Berbers speak. The origins of the Egyptian dynasties.
As navigation gave rise to coastal settlements over long periods of time, Overseas trade and cultural exchanges continued until at least the 17th century. These connections can be seen in shipbuilding styles and sailing techniques, for example,
Damn.
similarities between the Galway Pucan and the Arab Dhow. He further argues that Irish music has elements that sound uncannily close to Middle Eastern music, which, to be honest, is undoubtedly true.
Oh, dude, now I'm starting to trip out. Now Sinners is starting to make a lot of sense too. This fool, Ryan Coogler, might have been on some shit. The Irish connection between the black slavery, the slaves, and the Irish people going through the same kind of shit, and the connection through music. And then the vampires and this and that, all this Nephilim, fallen angel, spiritual shit. And that Irish music was cracking too. It was actually tight. That shit was actually popping. I love that shit. They got the quick feet, the river dancing type shit and all. What's going on, man? Ryan Coogler was on it. But then the Oscars gave him all these awards for it. And Oscars is a SOCAR. Oscars, SOCAR. Oh, man. Oh, hold on, man.
Overall, Quinn argues that Irish language, music, and art are related to ancient Iberian, Mediterranean, and North African cultures, in particular the indigenous Berbers of North Africa. Furthermore, he states that the word Celtic itself.
Wait, was a Berber? Was one of the Berbers Hannibal? Was Hannibal a Berber? A barber? Barber? Was Hannibal a Berber? The dude who was taking Rome head on with his elephants? What you think Scottish Rite Freemasonry connected to? Shit.
Itself is a Greek term, Keltoi, used to describe any quote-unquote barbarian who was not Greek. Further connections to the Middle East can be found between ancient Lebanon, Tunisia, and Ireland. In the 18th century, linguists noted a strong similarity between the Phoenician and the early Irish Celtic language.
The scholars of the 19th century, some of them said that the Irish were Phoenicians because they had come from Lebanon in the 8th century BC, and they built Carthage in Tunisia, what is now Tunisia. There was much traffic between Ireland and North Africa, between North Africa and Ireland, down through the centuries, as recently as the 18th century.
It is believed that the Phoenicians first travelled to Egypt, through to Carthage in Tunisia, then to Spain, then finally to Ireland and Britain, where they invaded and settled, hence again drawing a link for us between them and the Sea Peoples, and possibly the Fomorian giants. As evidence, linguists have long noted the similarity of the Phoenician language to ancient Gaelic, the Celtic language of Scotland and Ireland.
Hannibal was a general of Phoenician descent, while Carthage was in North Africa and likely involved some intermixing with local Berber populations over centuries. Hannibal's aristocracy was a Levantine, which was Phoenician stock. His appearance likely resembled modern Lebanese and Mediterranean people. So Hannibal Barca might have been connected to Ireland as well? Phoenician descent. That's what we watching. You guys missing out on YouTube. You guys got to go over to Kick. You're missing out on the whole thing. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. We learning some shit today. We literally learning some shit today.
The 16th century Jesuit historian Michael Alford noted that Ireland's pagan origins run parallel to that of the Eastern Mediterranean. Him and other historians until today state that the pre-Christian Gaels worshipped a god to whom they offered burnt sacrifices and called Bel, which is strikingly similar to the god of the Phoenicians, the Canaanite Baal. In 1707, the Scottish writer Martin Martin wrote that another god of the Britons was Belus, or Belinus, which seems to have been the Assyrian god Bel or Belus, and probably from this pagan deity comes the Scots term of Belton. While some 21st century historians now view this association between one of Ireland's indigenous gods and the Canaanite god as a form of colonial bigotry designed to demonise the pagan heritage of the Irish by the English, it should be noted that the worship of Bel is still celebrated today in Ireland in the holiday called Belt. Thanks to the mysterious Middle East for giving us the opportunity at Hexa to narrate and bring this episode to light. If you want to see more of our content, click the link in the bio. We recently made a video on the SCP Foundation. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the Mysterious Middle East for more adventures into the arcane.
Damn. Woo-wee. If we ain't doing a deep dive right now, I don't know what the hell is going on. Wow. This is a deep dive for sure. This is a real connection to Sinners for sure. This is a real connection to the movie Sinners. They weren't talking about some shit in Sinners. They were using imagery and symbolism in Sinners. They didn't want to just flat out say it. And that's what, look, that's what you think Scottish Rite Freemasonry connected to. Jumbie, they've been looking for ways to be able to survive. That's why they're doing the adrenochrome shit, and they need... You are completely made up of the same particles as the universe. Yeah, every star, yep, every particle is a star. We have every particle that a star has. Hey, we need to dive into this topic a little bit more for sure, for sure. Damn. I got to look into that. So...
the Hard Giant, as well as both the paranormal and military. If you do enjoy this video, please like and subscribe. This is a new format for the channel. It's only the third story video that I've done. In 2002, a group of highly trained Navy SEALs went missing in the mountains of Afghanistan. Without any indication as to why this group of highly trained soldiers went missing, the HQ decided to send out another patrol to investigate. This didn't seem so alarming.
We're gonna come back to the Kandahar. We're gonna come back to Ireland until I find a video worth watching. But this is the Demons of the Kabbalah conspiracy. Right now, we're gonna watch that. I'm gonna look up something else real quick.
The Kabbalah has long been associated with historic mysticism, hidden knowledge, and secret traditions, fueling various controversial and fringe theories. From Aleister Crowley to Sean Diddy Combs, many high-profile figures of the 20th and 21st century have
Aleister Crowley connected to Diddy? What?
either directly or indirectly, often in disturbing ways. While Kabbalah itself is a peaceful, broad, and complex mystical tradition, certain groups and individuals have taken its teachings in cult-like or conspiratorial directions, ranging from bizarre practices to horrors that seem almost Lovecraftian in scale. At the beginning of this episode, we introduced the Dybbuk, a paranormal entity tied to Kabbalistic demonology. While the lore of these beings typically focuses on spiritual possession, individuals and cults familiar with the darker aspects of Kabbalah have expanded their association with summoning demons into far more disturbing territory, as we will see in the next chapter. One of the most famous legends from Kabbalistic tradition is the tale of the Golem, an artificial humanoid being supposedly brought to life through divine knowledge made entirely of clay. The most well-known version of this legend involves Rabbi Judah Louis of Prague, a prominent 16th century scholar and Kabbalist who allegedly created a clay serpent. According to tradition, he uses mystical knowledge inspired by the way God created Adam to animate the creature. The word golem comes from Hebrew, meaning incomplete or unfinished, described as a mud figure magically brought to life by its human creator.
Sound like Frankenstein, a golem.
Useli. It was
Mysticism and magic bringing to life Pinocchio, Frankenstein. What kind of stories does this remind you of? What did Pinocchio's nose do? Grew every time he lied. A golem. Jewish mysticism? I don't know.
said to possess supernatural abilities, including invisibility and the power to summon spirits from the dead. While versions of the story vary, some modern skeptics dismiss the story as an urban myth, while others believe there could be some truth to it. In the most disturbing accounts, the creature eventually began rampaging through Prague before being subdued. According to legend, the remains of Lo's golem were stored in the attic of the Old New Synagogue, though renovations in 1883 reportedly found no evidence of its existence. This is just one of several stories involving the creation of golems in Poland and other parts of Eastern Europe, with some accounts dating back to the early 1500s or possibly even earlier. Similar to the search in the book Possession Stories, reports of golem creation appear to have peaked between the 16th and 17th centuries, with additional cases recorded as recently as the 2000s. Researcher John Hartman's 1987 study documented at least 63 demonic possession cases spanning 400 years. This pattern
CC with the hoodie. Everything they told us was a lie.
What was happening in Eastern Europe at that time to trigger such a spike in alleged supernatural occurrences?
Don't believe anything.
Could the Dybbuk and golems be part of the same phenomena? Two cases from the 21st century suggest so.
Go get the Ethiopian Bible, then tell me what you know.
The classical image of the golem as a living clay figure has
CC with the
largely
hoodie.
faded from discussion.
What up, man?
With one of the last famous alleged
Go to kick, man.
accounts occurring in 1800 in Belarus, where the entity reportedly burned down the house it was intended to serve. Since then, there have been scattered reports of anomalies matching golem descriptions, manifesting at will in random people's homes worldwide. In 2013, in California, an individual recounted an unusual experience while visiting their cousin's house. The cousin was reportedly suffering from severe sleep paralysis episodes, involving gray-skinned figures with greasy black hair embracing her in her sleep. The witness, who identifies as spiritual, suspected a supernatural attachment, but was discouraged from discussing it. One evening, while the witness and their cousins were talking in the kitchen, all the house lights flickered off and back on for a second. Immediately after the lights returned, the witness felt compelled to look toward their cousin's makeshift bedroom and saw a 6-feet humanoid figure standing near the curtain. The figure was described as wearing brown clothing from the 1800s, including a top hat with skin that appeared to be made of gray clay.
Look up. Okay, so we got to do World Fairs, Muddy Floods, Cabbage Patch
But
Kids.
its appearance was difficult to define. It evoked an intense emotional reaction, disgust, anger, and fear, despite making no movement or direct interaction before vanishing. A second incident occurring at an unspecified date and location involved a man who had lit a candle for meditation. Purchased from an occult store, the subject later perceived a figure standing by his bedroom door, described as a man composed of dripping mud.
Dripping mud.
Initially believing it to be a hallucination, he attempted to ignore the figure until it moved forward, grabbed his ankles, and forcibly pulled him from the bed. The subject reported hitting the floor before regaining awareness in bed. When he informed his roommate, the incident was dismissed as likely sleep paralysis. However, later that night, while attempting to sleep, the subject saw the same figure floating above him, still dripping mud. The entity then physically grabbed his shoulders, at which point he lost consciousness and awoke 12 hours later. Since then, no further incidents have occurred. What both instances have in common is that the entities were humanoid figures matching traditional Golem descriptions, but interacted with humans in way more consistent with the book or demonic encounters. The latter cases, in particular, appear to have been summoned through a brief ritual of meditation, suggesting that both Dybbuk and Golem may be variations of the same type of entity, perhaps a form of jinn, but who knows? Historians and theologians believe that the broader context surrounding the creation of these creatures centered on their role in protecting and serving the religious communities their creators belonged to. However, some theories suggest that certain Kabbalistic sects continue to practice forbidden forms of life creation, experimenting in the 21st century with alchemy, genetic manipulation, and astral entities to bring new beings into existence. If these beings are astral entities, their sudden manifestations in the homes of people experiencing intense sleep
Wait,
paralysis could be
what?
explained
This
through altered
world?
states of consciousness, moments when the mind is the
Y'all, wait, hold on. We gotta take a break. I gotta drink some water. I gotta do something. I gotta get some chips, something. Hold on. Hold the fuck up. No way. No fucking way. Y'all look at this shit. Damn, y'all on YouTube, I wish y'all could see this shit. Y'all read this. Read this shit. I muted on purpose, JB, so I can eat these chips and not sound all crazy. But I'm about to go to this. Read what I put up right now. Read this. Read this shit. Read that. World Fair, Fires, and Architecture. The Great Reset. Read this. 1980. Like the 1893 Chicago World's Columbian Exposition are described as new builds, but as the repurposing of existing Tartarian infrastructure. They say these infrastructures were already there? What? Historical events include major city fires, Chicago, San Francisco, and world wars were allegedly planned to destroy the remaining Tartarian infrastructures and cities that survived the mud flood. And they say they built some of those buildings like in 14 months. Back then, you built the empire in 14 months? Orphan trains and Cabbage Patch Kids following the depopulation of the mud floods. The theory suggests that a repopulation program was implemented. This includes the orphan trains of the 19th century, which moved children across the U.S. Some theorists connect this to Cabbage Patch Kids, metaphorically suggesting children were grown or distributed to replace the lost inhabitants. Who else is talking about this kind of shit on the internet right now? Golems and homunculi. These terms, homunculi is from the anime. I remember homunculi, the anime, where they were the alchemists. The alchemist, oh shit, the anime, the alchemist anime. It was all about alchemy and finding in the homunculi. The homunculi are part of Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist has the fucking homunculi. And the fucking metal boy was a fucking golem. The metal boy was a golem. Nigga, what? The metal boy was a golem. Nigga, this is crazy. Homunculi are, in Full Metal Alchemist, homunculi are artificial humans created by a father to represent the 7 deadly sins. Powered by Philosopher's Stones, alchemy, the Philosopher's Stone. Golems are distinct, magically animated constructs or reanimated, mutated humans requiring souls to operate. Both are examples of high-level alchemy creating lifelike beings. Extremely durable, capable of regeneration until their stone is depleted. Purpose, acts of fathers, agents to facilitate the creation of a new Philosopher's Stone. Unlike the 7 main homunculi, golems are generally inanimate matter, clay, stone, or metal brought to life. Soulbound, they require a soul or fragment to function, behaving more like automated soldiers or guardians. Specific examples, Jack Crowley in the 2003 anime becomes a golem in a heavily modified form, combining human flesh with artificial enhancements, resulting in a winged creature. Jack Crowley in the 2003 anime. What anime was that? Holy fuck. This just did everything right here. My bad, y'all. I was looking at some shit that you guys wasn't even a part of it. And Beloved, that's one of my favorite movies with Oprah. Hold on. Hey, Jumbie, when you coming over, man? When you coming over? We need to do a deep dive R-Files tonight. And she was possessed by a demon. Oh, shoot. Holy fuck, Jumbie. Yeah, let's do this shit tonight, man.
Come here, beloved. I look for this pleasant vision.
Those of y'all that didn't catch my beloved timeline video, catch up while the rest of us keep moving. Everybody got a past. Some folks made peace with their past, but others buried it so deep they can't even look themselves in the mirror. When you let your past define you, it just gets heavier and heavier over time. It doesn't just shape your identity, it hijacks it. And that's how people end up living in cycles. Some people take pride in it. And I'm not talking about the pride that lifts your chin up high. No, I'm talking about what's called delusional pride. The kind where you tell yourself, I'm fine, while your house is on fire. Folks like to stick their heads in the sand and they think that's gonna stop the flames. I can't see it, it ain't hurt. That's not how the past works. It's not gonna play by your rules. If you don't face it, it'll find you. And next time, it's gonna bring some skin. Sethi's past didn't just haunt her. It finally manifested and became flesh. And that flesh had a name. Beloved is the physical form of trauma revival. Sethi didn't just run from slavery. She carried it on her back, in her womb, in her silence, in her choices that she made. And that's what trauma does. It lingers like smoke in your clothes long after the fire's gone. When the people heard about what Sethi did, choosing to
kill her own kids
rather than go back into slavery, they got judgmental. But Sethi didn't see it as murder, she saw it as mercy. A desperate, twisted act of mercy from a woman who is so broken, she thought the only way to freedom was doing it this way. So for y'all to understand, beloved, don't just look at her like a ghost or a child. I want you to look at her like a living, breathing mirror, the type that can see deep into your soul, the same mirror that most of you are afraid to look into for yourself. Every time Sethi looks at beloved, she's looking at the screams that she had to swallow. She's looking at the milk they stole, the beatings that she had to endure, the dignity she had to trade just to make it to the next day. Beloved is trauma with a pulse. She came from Paul D too. Let's take a look at Paul D. He's one of those men who think the best way to deal with pain is to keep it locked up.
The best thing is to love everything just a little bit. That way, breaks, unsolved, it's taken away.
Well, maybe we still have a little love left over.
She made him remember the chain gang, remember that he was worth less than livestock. All those emotions started boiling over, made him feel all the times he doubted if he was even human. She just showed up and made him feel vexed, feel confused, feel jealous, feel irritated. She made him feel again.
It's a feeling in me. I can't place it. It's hard.
And Paul D started sweeping all over the house, saying he's having house fits.
Like I'm having house fits.
Different rooms, unable to find rest. Like he was trying to find a corner where his past won't whisper to him. But see, it's not about location, it's about what's inside.
Shit.
He wasn't just resting, he was wrestling with what he thought was buried. Because when Beloved said,
Touch me on the inside, heart.
she wasn't just talking about the fun parts, she was talking in a mirroring type of image of something that he had locked away. And then he gave in. Red heart, his rage, wounds, everything that he thought he had locked away. And he cried.
Oh my God.
Was latching onto Beloved like a big sister, a friend, fantasy. But what type of love was really being provided?
Please don't let Mom know you are.
Okay, I'm gonna read it just a second.
Tell me what to do. Don't you never tell me what. But I'm on your side. See the one I need. You can go. See the one I have to have.
Oh my God.
Because sometimes trauma dresses itself up in affection. Now, lean in close. Because this right here is a part that a lot of people miss. Beloved ain't just Sethi's burden. She's not just Paul D's pain, and she's not Denver's confusion. Right here, when they have a conversation about where Beloved came from.
What's that? You was fucking tell me? Dog, I smell in that place. Like this heat. It's hot. Nothing to breathe down there.
That's right, the slave ships. The bottom of those ships was called the Middle Passage. She was talking to us about our pains. So this means Beloved is the chains, the ships, the stolen babies, the forgotten tongue, the humming in the cotton fields, the spirituals that kept our people sane. See, Beloved is the echo, the residue, the bloodstain. Beloved is the physical embodiment of slavery's memory for everyone. Because unhealed trauma doesn't just disappear. It morphs, it whispers, it feeds, it consumes. And if you don't confront it, if you don't speak on it, it's going to return to you in flesh. Y'all tap back in for part 2. The next one.
Holy fuck. Holy shit. Hold on. Let me read this super chat. Brother Jumby, since the super chat, $10 super chat, we have Golem known as Jumby or Baku or Moku. What was Baku? Baku. That's what they were saying in Wakanda. Or Moku Jumby. Usually born and summoned after a bad person with a good soul dies to get revenge for family. African, Cuba, Guyana. Hopefully you can see me now. Oh, man. We have Golem, known as Jumbi or Baku or Moku Jumbi, usually born and summoned after a bad person with good soul dies to get revenge for family. You on your revenge tip right now. Shout out to Jumbi, man. Thank you for that super chat, man. Damn, I gotta watch Beloved again.
Build, to create, to ensure, to commit. And see, that's the voice of authority. It's not domination, it's direction.
Oh, man. Okay. Shit. Because you didn't say it in a bad way. Okay, so my mom lost 7 brothers. The last one 3 days before I was born. So my Umi named me Jumbi. War chief is a position given to sons of the gross, meaning you never disobeyed God's law. Love Lord. For real, for real. Went over my head. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you're talking about the Jews thing or whatever. Think about too much shit right now. Holy shit. Today was a good day. Today was a good day. Jordan Maxwell? Do I need to look him up on anything particular? Or because tonight, I'm about to get off here because tonight we about to, if Jumbie can do it, we going to do all this shit. YouTube Shorts? Okay. Okay, hold on. Here we go. Which one, Dogface? This shit only got this many views? That's crazy. Oh, 6-pointed star. Okay, you want to do 6-pointed star. Where's 6-pointed star? Let me see.
One of the most important symbols in Judaism is a 6-pointed star, the star of Saturn, the Star of David. The Star of David is 6-pointed, so it's a hex. The ancient peoples in the ancient world used to draw a circle on the ground and then draw a triangle in it. And then they would draw another triangle opposing it. So that's the Star of David inside a circle.
Hexagram.
It's a hexagram. Then you step inside of it and cast an evil spell on you. And so that's where we get the word they're casting the hex on you. They've got the hex put on you because they're standing inside the hex and they're putting the hex on you. And so
hex means
a 6-pointed star. And so today the Jews walk around proudly to show they got the hex put on them. Right? Because it is a 6-pointed star, and the encyclopedia says the 6-point is anything is a hex.
But in Satanism, they use the 5-pointed star.
Now that's different. That's Lucifer. That's the Luciferian star. One of the most important symbols in Judaism is a 6-pointed star.
Most people never question, why do Catholic priests wear black robes? Kids that graduate from high school wear black robes. Judges wear black robes, rabbis wear black robes, because black robes represent the planet Saturn. They're a symbol for the planet Saturn. Saturn was called by the ancient people Lord of the Rings, and Saturn is Lord of the Rings. This is why women were told in the ancient world to listen to their God, and the concept was they would wear an ear ring. Men were to get married before their gods, they wear a wedding ring. Because the old ancient god of the Middle East, one of the ancient gods of the Middle East, was the planet Saturn. Saturn was directly connected to Yahweh, the Hebrew God. And so this is why Even today, the Jews celebrate the worship of Saturn. Saturn in the old Phoenician language was called Shabbath. Look up in the Phoenician language.
Saturday.
You will find that the planet Saturn was called Shabbath. And his worship to honor him once a week was called Sabbath. So when the Jews are having Sabbath, they're actually paying homage to their god Saturn, Lord of the Rings. Most
Life is precious because it is short, and there's nothing at
That's an AI of a gorilla whooping the leopard's ass. Hey, oh man, I don't even know how long we've been going, dude. But oh wait up, how did these messages be getting the green box around them? We have been yanked away from the natural order and forced into a dark timeline, lower vibration. That's why they want the Middle East and Africa gone. They defended against demons, literally. Yes. The whole shit about Wakanda too. The whole shit about Wakanda being here. Ooh, let's see how long we've been going. Damn, near 3 hours. Jumby, I'm gonna send you the address whenever you're available, man. We gotta do a deep dive into this rundown of this shit. Yeah, listen to Botrix, man. Tip Rios, man. Streamlabs, tip me, man. Tip me, man. Oh, we've been doing 3 hours and 20 minutes. Okay. I am going to conclude. Oh, you know what? I didn't finish the.
Most susceptible to perceiving or even interacting with other worldly forces projected into their lives.
Happy belated birthday, Jumby.
However,
the big 40.
They are merely the products of scientific experiments involving alchemy and genetic manipulation. This brings us back to the themes of the previous episodes, the convergence of technology with what might be called magic, and the creation and summoning of entities that could pose a threat to humanity. Some French theorists argue that modern AI and transhumanism movements are unknowingly or even deliberately following ancient Kabbalistic blueprints for artificial life, merging human consciousness with machines. Influential figures,
YouTube, head over to Kick. YouTubers, head over to Kick.
May be aware of this. And that takes us back to the golden era of hip-hop in the late 90s and the thriving music scene of New York.
I sent you the address, Jumby. I texted to you.
Welcome to New York in the late 1990s, where one of the pivotal figures from this era, Sean Diddy Combs, was beginning to gain global recognition. Beginning his professional career as a background dancer, then graduating to record label intern, and finally peaking as a billionaire mogul in little over a decade.
This is Diddy.
Powerful connections with business and entertainment elites across the globe in record time.
How did that happen?
However, as his influence grew, so did the dark rumors surrounding him.
How that shit happened so fast? How did all those people die around him? Why was he chosen? He groomed, bred for this shit. His dad was who he was.
Throughout his
Diddy was a
career,
monster.
He has been associated with a series of unfortunate events, ranging from a mass casualty incident at the school in the early 90s to controversial group sessions of an intimate nature in the modern day, where some individuals claim they were coerced into participating in. Now, while most of the more recent charges have yet to be proven or disproven in court, a consistency has emerged amongst the more serious allegations. A disturbing connection to a twisted interpretation of the Kabbalah, an interpretation probably made most famous by the 21st century occultist Aleister Crowley. With at least one accuser stating that Diddy's intimate sessions involving 3 or more people would sometimes be lit with candles, Not only have netizens and actual participants noted how ritualistic these gatherings seemed, but producers working for Diddy under his Bad Boy label claimed that recording sessions would sometimes also be candlelit, where ritualistic invocations were chanted by those in attendance. One former hip-hop producer who alleges to have encountered literal spiritual entities while working for Diddy said the following.
We would all be in the studio and it would almost be ritualistic, you know, we would light candles and as the beats are playing, you know, they would be chanting different things over the music alone.
With allegations of non-consensual group intimacy and the invocation of demons, some might draw parallels to the rituals occult societies like the Ordo Templi Orientis are believed to have practiced a century ago. This raises the speculation that Diddy's rapid rise to fame may have had a supernatural component.
Diddy and his orgies was that energy harvesting, and here's the funny thing. You don't have to believe in summoning demons, the occult, in order for the person doing that crazy stuff to actually do it. So I believe that Diddy would do something like this.
For years, several media outlets have speculated about Diddy's connection to the Kabbalah. Though no definitive proof has emerged proving that he is a practitioner, one of the most persistent rumors surrounding him is his alleged link to the Kabbalah Center, a prominent organization that teaches Kabbalistic principles and has been associated with various celebrities over the years. And given what we have already covered so far in this episode, where individuals have used the tools of this belief system to summon extra-dimensional entities, we have a theoretical, albeit tenuous, connection to Diddy and those who would warp the belief system to suit their needs. Beyond the alleged invocation of entities during Diddy's parties, recording sessions, and other gatherings, there exists a broader occult belief that taking a life of another living mammal as part of a ritual can lead to significant wealth. Now, this is not a teaching you can specifically find within traditional Kabbalah as far as we are aware, and you can correct us in the comments if we're wrong. Sacrificial communion with supernatural entities is a common trope in various other religious and esoteric traditions. This brings us to the fascinating and controversial figure of Aleister Crowley, a 20th century occultist who was known for his hedonistic lifestyle, much like the rumors surrounding Sean Diddy Combs. While Diddy's involvement with disturbing occult practices remains speculative, since he has denied any and all wrongdoing, Crowley was not only famous for his overindulgent lifestyle, but also for his deep involvement in occult rituals that pushed boundaries, specifically his system of magic known as Thelema. This system heavily incorporated elements of Kabbalah, particularly when it came to invoking supernatural entities. Crowley's take on Kabbalah wasn't purely academic. He fused Sufism, Mesopotamian and Egyptian beliefs, and pre-Islamic esoteric traditions into his rituals, shaping what he called magic, a practice of channeling energy from these rites.
Jumpy, what do you mean Thelema and Golden Dawn brother, split household? They split their house and tag team music in Hollywood. Thelema and Golden Dawn? Thelema and Golden Dawn? Is that what you're trying to say? Do as thou will. I know about that. Thelema and Golden Dawn. Let me see.
Spiritual or material goals. Today, skeptical netizens have accused Diddy of engaging in a modern variation of this practice, if not the exact same. Although we're venturing into speculation and may never fully uncover the extent of Diddy's alleged ritualistic activities, what is
I got it.
are the striking hedonistic similarities between him and Crowley. Both figures, in their quests for power and transcendence, are said to have physically harnessed energy from their intimate encounters with women and men, allegedly using it in attempts to communicate with anomalous forces. In 1904, while in Cairo, Crowley's wife is said to have encountered an entity that identified itself as the Egyptian deity Horus. This manifestation is believed to have occurred as a result of the couple's ongoing ritualistic practices, which they had been engaged in up until that point.
Pay attention.
According to Crowley's Thelema, Horus symbolizes strength and a new spiritual age. While not directly linked to intimacy, Crowley views this strength as a force for spiritual transformation. He believed that once harnessed, it could be used to achieve one's quote-unquote true will, something that can be accessed via ritualized intimacy. Elements of this idea parallel certain hedonistic aspects of Diddy's own reported lifestyle, with the so-called rapper even tweeting about his days-long tantric sessions. While there is a difference between regular tantric intimacy and that of the Thelema, which seems to be more geared
This is crazy. I don't even know why I've been on YouTube this long. My bad.
if the allegations against Diddy are true,
Go over the kick.
material wealth.